Wrestling Geeks Alliance. Geek Vibes Nation.
Hey everyone out there, how are you doing? I'm Dane, and this is another episode of Wrestling Geeks Alliance. Damn it. Well, I guess it's going to be a long show. Anyways, apologize for us not doing a show last week. I had a death in the family. My wonderful grandmother that we've actually talked about on the show with the Beck's Beers at noon had passed away. So big RIP to my grandma. I was out of town. But I am been catching up on wrestling, and I am ready to talk about some awesome wrestling stuff and even some not so awesome wrestling stuff. Before I introduce my co-host, when we go into it, I'm going to warn you guys, we got to break up the shows, not because of time restraints necessarily. It just we're going to do the shows portion of it. You know, going over Raw, Smackdown, AEW, NXT, and New Japan. And we're going to save the bigger stuff, going on some of the scandalous and messed up situations involving the COVID stuff with WWE, what's going to be happening with Tessa Blanchard, and everything involving the latest women coming out against wrestlers for some pretty heinous things. So bear with me. We'll have a separate show for that. It's going to be a little bit more explicit, and hope you guys tune in. It's fully going to be me and Chris's opinion. Which stuff might differ, I have no idea, but it's going to be an honest episode, and it's a lot of fucked up shit. But anyways, easy transition to introduce my host, Christopher Ray Patton. How you doing? I'm just going to put you on the spot.
I am doing okay, all things considering. Once again, condolences for your loss. We'll still have noon beers for
Absolutely.
sure, right? Noon beers are a thing.
Just not
but
Bex.
yeah. Yeah, I'm not a big Bex fan. But yeah, man, it's been a weird week of wrestling, and I think you addressed it. We're going to do a separate show. Because I would like to think that people listening to wrestling podcasts also listen to other wrestling podcasts, right? So you've been nailed in the head with the allegations and stuff, and we'll put out a separate show. But this one is supposed to be about just wrestling. So let's talk about wrestling and have a lot of fun. I'm here for you, Dane. Let's get through this.
Let's get through this, man. And I want to say, first starting off, I got to give it up, man, for having – I don't know if Vince is kind of backing off on certain aspects when it comes to match quality or certain other things. I never thought I'd say this, and I want to say that I think it's because Paul E. was dealing with Vince and they were clashing constantly. That took some of his creativeness that he couldn't do. I don't know if he had more time, if Paul Heyman were to be able to develop to the level of, how we expected with certain things they did in ECW and WWE in 2003, early 2004 as a booker. But I got to give it up to Bruce Pritchard. Raw and SmackDown, for the most part, lately seem to be a lot easier to watch. Not all things, but given all the stuff that they're dealing with outside of COVID, I'm just saying as being not a full audience and what we're used to, the storylines have been good for the most part. I like what they're doing. We'll talk about the Street Profits Viking thing because that's a whole entire different concept. That definitely reeks of Bruce Pritchard, but I think I've liked a lot of the stuff that he's booked lately, and he's been booking shows that are a lot easier to watch, is what I'm trying to say, because especially Raw, it can be a slog to get through. I don't know if you agree with me at all, Chris, but that's kind of how I feel. I would love to see Paul Heyman with a big middle finger end up in either AEW or try to bring a promotion to greatness if he wants to do booking. He'd basically be screwing over his whole thing with, Brock, but I don't know how long he has on this contract. I feel like he's scorned, but either way, when it comes to Bruce, I think he's done a good job so far.
I tend to agree with you, and I think the Paul Heyman situation is weird because I don't think they gave him a pay raise when he got promoted, so he's just making the same amount of money whether he's Brock Lesnar, Paul Heyman, or just normal Paul Heyman, right? So that one's entirely weird, but yeah, it was a very entertainment based episode, which I think is what you were getting at. There was not so great wrestling. It wasn't really built around wrestling as much as the other stuff around it. Is that what you were kind of saying?
Kind of. And some of the wrestling has been good. We had that AJ Daniel Bryan, but for the most part, get us to the pay-per-views. The pay-per-views are the big matches. Get the storyline fleshed out. Have shorter matches, but still can have competitive matches, and make it more, like I said, story-driven. And actually, here's a hard thing for anyone to do, including Vince McMahon: segment it well, so you have good stuff to end on, stuff to start off with.
Which it makes no sense because Vince is the send the crowd home happy guy. That was like his whole thing with WrestleMania. He's like, the good guy always wins at the end of WrestleMania. You
send them home exhausted is my new one.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's definitely a different scenario watching Raw. There's a lot of segments, but they're at least trying to build storylines. So I'm not ready to bury it yet. I mean, some of the storylines suck, but yeah, they're trying, right? So it's hard for me to bury it because we'll see how it plays out, but it's very hard for me to just straight bury a guy that's in a job for 1 week or whatever. And he's been there the entire time. It's not like he wasn't next to Paul while they were doing those 2 shows or whatever. So, and the direction seems very similar to whatever Paul was going in anyways. They haven't shifted things majorly.
Nope. They're still associating a lot of the stars. Maybe they're not getting as much time on camera like an Aleister Black, but they're still finding places to put them. And it should be interesting. I'm assuming... Well, we'll get to it. Let's just start off with the beginning of the show. We'll work down for Monday Night Raw. But WWE Champion Drew McIntyre kicked off Championship Monday. That was the theme they were going for, a bunch of championship matches. It's kind of like how they're going to be doing, what WCW pay-per-view. I can't remember. I'm sure it will come up, but they're using that as a name for a future episode, and they're going to treat it like a mini pay-per-view. And a lot of people are saying, well, it's kind of messed up because you're borrowing the idea of what AEW is doing, and you're also using a pay-per-view that Dusty used to make. But Cody even said, hey, it's their fucking IPs. That's what they're going to do. I don't know. It's not Clash of Champions. It's Great American Bash, I believe, is the one they're calling their future NXT. But I think stuff like this, trying to give it a title like Championship Monday, it just kind of makes sense. I don't know if it really works in the ratings. We'll have to find out. I didn't really check out Raw and Smackdown. I was more interested in Wednesday night, but we'll get there. But either way, the show started off, like I said, with Drew McIntyre coming out. As soon as he came out, he was interrupted by Dolph Ziggler, explaining that he and Robert Roode had been traded to the Red Brand for a deal with AJ Styles to SmackDown. Ugh. Even Drew was like, so it's a 2-for-1 deal and you feel good about yourself? Either way. Explained that I already said that. Showoff claimed that he was responsible for McIntyre's success since returning to WWE. In response, a stern McIntyre challenged Ziggler to a title match at Extreme Rules, seemingly telling him to be careful what he wished for. So I like McIntyre as a champion that's not going to back down. But once again, man, it's one of those situations where Dolph is that guy to insert here for a scenario, and he's a company guy, I guess, for that. But in interviews, it's kind of sad. If you've watched his matches in the past when he was passionate about wrestling, it's a lot different than now. It's even more sucked out of his soul than Randy, until recently. But it is what it is. He's more trying to get his comedy career going than caring about if he's ever going to get a title again or whatnot. But it's still, I mean, there's a storyline. Dolph Ziggler's there. It's not as intriguing. I'm sure that Dolph and Drew will have a pretty good match together, but I don't expect us to go anywhere past this. And do you think it's kind of an insult to Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler that the two of them would be traded for just AJ Styles? What do you think about all this, Chris?
I mean, no, because AJ Styles is 100 times better wrestler than Bobby Roode or Dolph Ziggler. So I feel like that's a kind of equal trade. Like, I think that's kind of an equal trade. Here's two guys that are kind of good for AJ. I mean, AJ Styles is like the phenomenal one, right? He's in all of our top like 5 lists of wrestlers. Like, if you pointed to someone in WWE, you looked at the whole wrestling industry and you're like, who are the best wrestlers? He's probably the first name that's going to come up off their roster. So if you're telling me that they traded 2 people for 1 person, I'm fine with that. The problem is they don't actually tell you that the trades fucking matter. So now Ziggler is just in a feud, and this will be a good match. But no one's going to care about it because there's no storyline built in. There's no argument of like, I should be traded to this brand because I feel like I can win the title here and you're screwing me over. There is no upper management of either brand to make a trade possible. So if you don't like have, I mean, even if it's like 5 minutes of show where they're dedicating these people that are making these trades, like, and also the trade itself doesn't make any sense because they got like, wasn't it supposed to be 1 wrestler in a first round draft pick in the next draft of whatever these brands are? That's how they sold it. So they're just feeding us bullshit. I mean, it's typical WWE, but like, if you're like, are you excited about seeing Dolph Ziggler work Drew McIntyre as far as a wrestling match goes? I'm like, yeah, that should probably be pretty good. Like, it's probably Drew McIntyre is not really let down. He's not my favorite wrestler just because he works a very slow, methodical style, but he doesn't have bad matches. Like, all of them are very, very fucking good matches. Like, I haven't watched a bad Drew McIntyre match. I mean, it's not my thing, but he's good. So as far as that standpoint goes, you know, like, it's fine for what it is. I will say the opening of the show, they did a really good job of promoting Champions Night or whatever they're calling it, and the video package, like you talked about with the Asuka versus Charlotte, which Street Profits like the entire video package that they had, I thought was pretty well done. So I thought the show started out pretty good, and you know, as far as Dolph versus Drew, it'll be a good match. There's nothing that's going to bring in a casual fan because there's no actual heat between Drew and Dolph, other than they were both in very suspect crews beforehand, like 1 3-man band and the other one the cheerleading group they had at WWE.
Yeah, I don't think that the partnership that they had where they were trying to literally mimic Dolph and him as Diesel and fucking Shawn like 2 years ago really is enough storyline. But it is what it is. Like you said, no care in the build up to the match, but the match should be, fun. It's one of those situations. And you're right. I mean, I give it a lot of credit to Dolph's in-ring work and also Bobby Roode's, probably more so Bobby Roode. They kind of have a similar concept. They're good in-ring hands, and you know they've been champions before. But yeah, AJ's on that upper echelon, man, with Okada, with Randy Savage, with Ricky Steamboat, with Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Daniel Bryan. That's something that's so hard to equate to as far as being one of the best in-ring wrestlers, period. You know?
Yeah, agreed with you. I mean, it's the same thing as like saying someone's one of the best, and then there's a Wayne Gretzky in the hockey world, or there's a Michael Jordan in the hockey world, or there's a Ken Griffey in the baseball world. It really shifts that list a lot. Like, Ziggler does not fall in any of those lists across all of WWE's history or wrestling's history. But you know, WWE's been doing this. Yeah, I mean, WWE's WWE has just been rewriting history for a while, though. I mean, they just did the greatest match of all time, Dane. That was on Backlash. The greatest Backlash match of all time that's ever happened. It's in the Guinness Book of World Records. I don't know how you haven't heard about this.
And what sucks is that was a pretty damn good match, but just like what I think Edge and Randy were worried about, it got fucking overshadowed by the title that you don't put on something until afterwards. It might have been equivalent just as good, in my opinion, if we didn't get commercial breaks during Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles. But I still like the match and agree with you.
Because we missed talking about this match, I'm just going to go ahead and give my opinion on it because I feel like people want to hear it. It was a nostalgia match. It was that Star Wars movie that Disney put out, the first one they put out. It was that. They did tributes to every wrestler they've ever worked with, and they worked hard, and it was a good match, but it definitely doesn't even come close to like the greatest match of all time.
Yeah, if you're complaining to get Flair Steamboat, or no, I'm sorry. And that's what they kept on trying. It was more like trying to do a tribute of like an Austin Rock match,
Except neither of them are Austin or The Rock. Like, they don't have that presence that makes the match have that bigger feel. And I love Edge, and I don't know, I kind of like Randy Orton, as people on this podcast know. But
he's doing good now with his promos and stuff, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, Orton's been great on the mic. Can't say anything about him. Once again, it's kind of the Drew McIntyre thing. It's the Triple H style of wrestling where it's just very slow, methodical, and pacing. I'm not a huge fan of. So I'm not gonna shit on him for that. Like, I thought that was a very, very good match that we should probably talk about because the Edge promo is going to come up later, and it's like one of the best promos he's ever cut, if not the best. But yeah, I mean, it was what it was. It was a very, very, very good. I mean, it was a great WWE match. Like, but it's not even better than some of the stuff they've had in NXT, Gargano and Ciampa. So I liked.
Oh, and just to throw a little shade before you continue. Hey, Randy, if you want to complain about people doing leg slaps, maybe you shouldn't do it when you do the punt. Just an idea. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, is that all his character, though? Because that's what me and you were talking about beforehand. Is that, like, all just Randy Orton the character or Randy Orton the person? It's hard to tell because he's like a notorious dick to people. Like, if you walk up and ask him for an autograph at like the gym or some shit, he's been notoriously a dick. So it's always hard to tell. Like, is he just keeping it kayfabe 100% until everything is turned off and he's with his family or whatever, or is he just an asshole? Yes, I mean, like, is he one of the greatest? Is he one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, as Ric Flair would say later in the show? Or is he just an asshole?
The thing is, and I've heard him say this, I've heard other people say this, Rick really believes that he's one of the best in-ring wrestlers that he's ever seen. That he can do anything that those guys do, but he chooses not to and picks his spots. I've heard him say that a million times, and I don't think he's just trying to sell Randy. A lot of times he has no reason to.
I mean, Randy Orton is crazy athletic, even if you go back to his early career. Like, if he wanted to do a Phoenix off the top rope, he could. Like, there's no reason he wouldn't be able to do it. It's just he's more of the heel. He's always wrestled with that heel Triple H kind of mindset, like all those cats did. They came through there. I mean, and like his dad, like even Bob Orton, and I kind of shit on him beforehand because the Cass gimmick that lasted 4 years or whatever. But I mean, like, he's a great wrestler. They're all great wrestlers. It's just a very different style, and Randy is wrestling very. It's like Randy should have been born in 1970, and then he wouldn't be having this conversation. He'd be like, he's the greatest wrestler of all time. Because what happens is now he's wrestling people with different mindsets of what they want to get in, and he's very slow and methodical. So what happens is, like, your favorite wrestler, or like one of our favorite wrestlers, AJ Styles. You put AJ Styles against like Randy Orton, and what happens is the match is like a sludge. It gets very, very slow versus what you would want out of an AJ Styles match. But like if you put like Randy Orton versus like Bruno Sammartino or something, or like him versus Terry Funk, it becomes a very different conversation. It's just wrestling has changed.
That's a
I
really
don't know.
good point.
It's he works much like his dad. I mean, he like, you know, he has this big out of nowhere spot or whatever, but the rest of his in-ring work is, I mean, Randy Orton, the reason people love fucking Randy Orton is that he is very 70s, 80s wrestling.
That's why Jim Cornette and Ric Flair and fucking JR, they all put him over and stuff like that. And I get it. Arn Anderson's another guy that I've heard talk very big. And I like Randy as a heel especially. I think he's one of the best heels of his era for sure. And his in-ring is not bad. It's just like you said, more slow and methodical. But like one of the greatest is kind of like hard for me when you have people like Daniel Bryan and AJ in the company, I guess. And dude, if you watch his stuff and I definitely think go watch stuff in OVW when he was first starting. Go watch when he was first starting in general. He's doing a fuckload more. He's doing jumps to the outside. He's doing jumps from the top rope to the outside. He used to do his drop kick was a backflip drop kick, which looked awesome as shit. It was basically Triple H and Ric Flair said, slow the fuck down, conserve your goddamn body, and do this. And that's basically the route that he took, the mindset of his idols, basically, that took him under their wing. And then he got completely obliterated and made a fool of himself and had to slowly come back from that. But now he's an older guy. I love this Legend Killer gimmick, and I know we're going with the Big Show. Edge was there. I wonder, Chris, if I was WWE, which I'm not, and we've done this a million times with fantasy booking, take the Ciampa thing with him. Ciampa doesn't have a lot to do in NXT anymore. If you want to get Ciampa over big, you know, we saw the reaction to the stare down between the two of them during the Survivor Series match that didn't have any type of altercation past that. Have fucking Ciampa come out, claim that he's a new Legend Killer, and beat the living shit out of Randy Orton from behind and start a big fight. Then you immediately put him in the spotlight and they can have a series, or you can bring it back to NXT if you want, you know. I don't know. That's what I would do.
I mean, you and I have been talking about this. If they're going to do the Legend Killer gimmick, I think it's a little too past, right? Like, Randy Orton's older than me. I'm 31. He's like 36 at this point. He is a legend at this point. You've entered the echelon of your career. So if you're going to do
someone needs to take you down a notch, you know?
So someone like Killer Cross, for instance.
That would be awesome.
Just murdering him, that would be great, right? But they're not going to do that. I mean, Randy Orton's always going to be Randy Orton. So the fact that he didn't punt Ric Flair, and I understand the reason why he didn't, because Ric has not had the best health, but that's like the one, right? Like, he should have punted him. And but it doesn't actually matter with Randy Orton, because Randy Orton has been so great on the mic. Like, I'll give Randy Orton credit. Like, I will say most improved wrestler of 2020, because he's turned this shit up to like 11 for his character. I think just working with people he likes goes a long way, but he really has been trying and insulting fans and call him lazy and shit. But he's not wrong. I mean, like, wait, you want me to fucking have a match against Jinder Mahal? You think you're gonna get my all of Randy Orton? But when Orton's on, he's on. Like, that match with him and Edge, that was great. Like, the trading the Eddie Guerrero Three Amigos, was it Three Amigos, or they did triple suplex spot? That was dope. They did so many things that were call outs to their friends from, like, you know, that's why I was saying it was like member berries kind of.
Yeah,
but it
exactly.
was great.
Member berries. Oh God. And that's the thing. It's like, it's weird, but we'll get back to Orton because he's gonna be involved in the show, obviously. But let's get to the next part. The irresistible force took to the ring, seemingly ready to take Raw hostage until she got answers about last week's controversial Raw Women's title match, where she technically got screwed over. However, Nia Jax was interrupted by R-Truth, who was chased off by Akira Tozawa and ninjas. Yes, all this shit happened. It was so funny. R-Truth came out just talking about stuff, and Nia Jax's like, why the fuck are you here? And then they're doing this ninja stuff. I don't know how to feel about it. Anyways, but Charlotte Flair came out, who set off a brawl with Jax that appeared to leave the Queen with an arm injury ahead of her title match with Asuka. Good way to set it up. Give Charlotte a reason for finally, and I hate to spoiler, losing against Asuka. Give her a little bit of credibility with this thing and set up something with her and Nia. I think Charlotte actually has a real injury, or she has to go for surgery, so she's going to be out for a while, a couple weeks. So, man, that's something they definitely didn't need. But it had nothing to do with the arm injury. That was all kayfabe, if you will. But I like this. I thought this was smart.
Yeah, so it's not actually an arm injury, but she's having surgery, so she's going to be out for 2 months, is what I've heard from everything, which really sucks for WWE. I mean, at least they have Asuka there on Raw, I guess. But Nia, they put Nia in the spot to hurt her, to bring back kind of the Becky storyline. Like, you're the reason that I'm out because you ruined my arm or whatever. But I thought this was okay.
Yeah.
That's the best way to put it. I thought it was okay, but I have no idea what they're doing with their women wrestlers right now on the main products. On the other product, they just have so many good female wrestlers. Just like throw them in the ring and they'll have a match. Like Io versus Shotzi. Okay, cool. That's gonna be a good match.
Let's do it.
Yeah, but like on the main product, there's still this mindset of, and I don't want to insult anyone, but there is a mindset of divas and actual wrestlers.
Mm-hmm. And I think we know which is which. I'll just put it that way. And there's no offense. A lot of the divas are good at wrestling. But, compared to an Asuka or a Charlotte, Io Shirai, it's a little bit different. It's like what we were talking about beforehand.
I mean, it's the same thing with men wrestlers, though. Like,
yeah, we said that. We said that.
Yeah.
Randy Savage, fucking, AJ Styles. It's just high regard in ring work because, I don't know, they just had something more or they were innovators.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, completely agreed on this one. I think Dana Brooke is highly underused. I'll say that.
I do too. I'm glad they step her in every so often, but they need to, kind of go completely in on it. Liv Morgan, for that matter, has really impressed me lately, and she's kind of taken a dive too, and kind of gotten beaten. But yeah. So I got to ask you about this stuff, man. So the anything you can do, we can do better thing between the Viking Raiders, Street Profits. It was supposed to culminate at their last pay-per-view. Ended up being a ridiculous segment that was some of it like their other shit. Some of it was funny. A lot of it was stupid, bringing out the whole entire Kirisawa and the ninjas and shit. But finally, they get to have a match, and to prove, I guess, of who is going to be, the best within this. They're tied. That's the storyline. So now it's finally a wrestling match. And I think that the wrestling match was good. But I was thinking this. I was like, this is like if the PG era tried to book LOD versus fucking Harlem Heat. Like, we would get this silly shit. And this is definitely Bruce Pritchard, Vince McMahon with all of it. Like I said, some of it was entertaining. Some of it was absolutely just dumb. But the match itself, I liked. I did like the match. They won, or I should say Street Profits regained the title over. I don't know what that does for the Viking Raiders. They're now like best buddies. I really think there should have been a time where the Viking Raiders just lured them in and just beat the shit out of them right before the actual match, like it was all a ploy. Would have got a strong heel team. Anyways, the one thing I did like, for Selena, she was watching them in the back do their promo, and she was kind of there, and you're like, why is she there? Street Profits win the match, Viking Raiders leave. Out comes Andrade and Angel Garza, and they beat the living shit out of the Street Profits. So now they're a fucking tag team, which I'm excited about. Viking Raiders come back to try to save them. Selena and Andrade and Angel leave. So, like I said, a lot of these aspects I like, even with the segments that made me laugh, made me pop, if you will. But a lot of it was stupid, We had this last match, pretty decent match on television, set on a pay-per-view. But I love the setup of Angel Garza and Andrade in a tag, for a tag team, and I think they're going to get those titles.
I think they're a great tag team, and Selena Vega is one of my favorite managers. Probably my favorite right now. I think she's phenomenal at what she's doing. Also Tully's out there, so that's in Arn. So I'm jaded on this, but as far as like a manager, I think that she's probably the best. They're kind of just there because they're Tully and Arn, right? Or Jake the Snake, for instance. But I thought this match was fine. The biggest problem that WWE is going to have is they're not building their tag division. It's still around 3 teams. If they would have kept like the Revival and Anderson and Gallows, the club or whatever, now this becomes way more interesting where the 2 top tag teams are friends and they're having these good matches, kind of like the Usos and New Day. It's a similar storyline, but it's like they have no reason to be very mad at. I mean, they have reason to be mad at Angel and obviously Andrade, but where does it go from there? And there's no one else for the other tag team to feud with. It's just like there's only three tag teams on Raw. Is more of the problem.
Apparently.
So, like, Andrade just feuds with everybody. They're turning him into Dolph Ziggler. He's just gonna feud with everybody, which sucks because me and you both thought he was gonna be like a huge star. They could have easily made him a huge star. And
you know what? Between the 2 of them, I hate to say this, but not Chris necessarily on, in-ring work overall, but I think Angel's actually has more of the charisma out of the 2 of them, and has the possibility of becoming more of the star of the 2 of them.
Angel Garza is very much a Eddie Guerrero type. He has a charisma for sure, and he's good in ring worker. Andrade is the guy. If I had to have a safe wrestling match right now, is someone that has trained for this at one point in time. He would be the guy that I would want to have that match with, even if it was a squad.
Yeah.
He has really great matches. I mean, like, to me, he had the best Drew.
Could you imagine him and Savage, man, in a fucking match?
Yeah. It'd be great. I mean, like, I don't know. I like their attack team. I think that's great. More of the problem is just that, and this is always going to be a problem with WWE because they've never cared, is they don't care about their tag team divisions. So there's only like 2 or 3 teams ever at a time. Yep. So you're just going to see this rotated in and out, and it's going to be frustrating as you watch the product because it's going to, like, what's going to happen is you're going to have a singles match, right? And then a tag match, then a singles match, and then it'll end up in a 3-way at the pay-per-view. So that's hard. And then you look at the competition with AEW, and I'm not saying AEW is better than Raw or whatever. They have like 7 good tag teams.
Yeah, some of the best, man, in the industry. It's fucking ridiculous. Yeah, I agree with you completely. I don't know, man. It's so weird. Maybe why don't you use Austin Theory and fucking I can't remember his name.
Buddy Murphy.
Yeah, actually make them a fucking tag team. Have them try to go for the gold. They're a heel tag team. They can put together shit. Where the fuck did Ricochet and fucking Cedric Alexander go? That had so much potential.
Once again, they just put tag teams in a spot on Raw, and then they're like, this is the spot for tag teams. And they don't care about the rest of the division. They have so many, I mean, like, if we're getting at this, why did Chad Gable and Jason, ever break up?
I don't know, man.
Like, American Alphas, like, why did they ever break up? That could have been the greatest tag team of all time.
And when Jason had his injury and that wasn't a possibility anymore, and the Shelton stuff was all right. It was just too much of a throwback. You could have replaced Jason with Apollo Crews, and him and Chad would have been a great fucking tag team still. But they just, whatever. He's Shorty G, remember? Forgot. Ugh.
No, I try to pretend that Shorty G doesn't exist in my mind because
Yeah.
losing someone of the talent level of Chad Gable is baffling to me. It's
Well,
baffling.
hopefully with SmackDown, stuff's headed in a different direction. Who knows if that's actually going to happen. The next thing that we had Charlotte and Asuka. And despite suffering an injury to her left arm in the brawl with Nia early in the night, Charlotte Flair fought valiantly in hopes of capturing the Raw Women's title. However, once she was trapped in the Asuka lock, the Queen had no choice but to tap out, ensuring the Empress of Tomorrow's reign would continue. It's a good match, probably match of the night for me. I mean, they arguably the two best females on the main roster, I would say, when it comes to wrestling, and two of the best in the world, period, female or male. So they're going to have a good match. It was definitely lightened down because it was a TV match. But like I said, it made sense that Nia hurt Charlotte's arm. Charlotte is a kryptonite against Asuka. It's a big testing point. Seems like something you would say for a pay-per-view, really. But, she got the Asuka lock. Her arm's already fucked up. Asuka gets the win. It kind of sucks for Asuka that she can get a complete win, if you will. But like I said, I think it was match of the night. What do you think about this match, Chris?
I agree with you. Match of the night. Match of the night, by far. They're both great. I would want everyone to keep in mind that Charlotte has been wrestling on 3 shows where everyone else is just doing COVID stuff, apparently. What the hell? Charlotte's been working her ass off. I'm not going to say I'm not insulting anyone, but like Charlotte's been doing pay-per-views and doing NXT and whatever other show they throw her on. She's going to be back in 2 months. And she's definitely going to be an anchor on Raw. And they've done a great job with Asuka. The fact they're letting Asuka talk and promo more, I think is amazing. Doesn't have to be in English. Like, look at her YouTube channel. It's just great. They should actually look at her YouTube channel and be like, that's how you make this character good. She's just such a monster, like Asuka and Charlotte. I thought it was a fucking great match. The Nia thing, I don't know. I mean, I guess you have to have a heel there. I just kind of don't want Nia wrestling either of these people because I'm very afraid that she's going to drop 2 of the best female wrestlers on their neck or something. I don't like it.
Yeah, I agree. All right. R-Truth was fully prepared to fight Akira Tozawa and his ninjas to defend his 24/7 7-Eleven I-95 US TV title. But he was not prepared for Bobby Lashley. The Almighty bulldozed through Tozawa's ninjas and then ragdolled R-Truth around the wing in his full Nelson. After dishing out enough damage, Lashley left with MVP, and Tozawa emerged from under the ring, sliding in for a pin and capturing the 24/7 championship. We gave Akira Tozawa a lot of credit for his work defensively, if you will, losing on the main roster, but also, what he was doing during the tournament. And now he's a fucking ninja. How do you feel about all this?
All right, let's talk about Akira Tozawa as a worker. Akira Tozawa has been great the past 3 months and should not have been saddled with this bullshit gimmick. But even in this gimmick, he's doing really good. He's being a very over-exaggerated character. Just why does he have ninjas? What the fuck happened? I don't know. I don't know how to explain this, but Akira Tozawa, once your contract's up, please go somewhere else.
No shit. Here's a question also with this next thing. So we have Natalya. She's all confident now. She's got Lana, I'm glad we're splitting Lana from Bobby Lashley. Just don't even go back to it. But now Lana's with Natalya. And we have Liv Morgan they've been building. Obviously, Paul Heyman, that was one of the people that he saw potential in. And Natalya beats her. I don't know why Natalya needs to win. I get they're putting them together for Total Divas because they've always had an interaction on that. That's what I'm assuming, at least. But with Liv Morgan afterwards, she was trying to get Ruby Riott was trying to console her. She didn't want anything to do with it. What are they doing with Liv Morgan, and how do you like the pairing of Natalya and Lana?
She was relevant to the match, so it's hard for me to have. You're pushing Liv, but then she takes a loss to Natalya. So my guess is they're doing the old fallback of like, hey, Becky is gone. We need to settle up, and Charlotte has an injury for 2 months, so Natalya is probably getting a push, is what I think is going to happen. Lana as a manager, like, that's weird, right? Because they didn't even really finish off the feud with her at that pay-per-view. I mean, they had a blow-off, but they didn't have it like a divorce, or they didn't like it. So the entire thing is weird. I like Natalya. I think she's pretty good in the ring.
Oh, I agree.
But this sucks for Liv Morgan.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Is there anything going with maybe getting her and Ruby together in a tag team and putting them in the tag team division?
Dane, you're asking if WWE cares about tag teams.
Well, they've been using him lately on NXT, and you got Bayley and Sasha with them finally. So there's been some good things, I suppose.
But
I don't know,
has
man.
there been? I mean, other than like Bayley and Sasha showed up and they popped a rating this week, but like, has there been good things about the tag team division? Because they don't actually care about it.
Yeah, you're right. All right, so this was actually one of my favorite segments on the show. We had the Nature Boy. He arrived at Raw and anointed Randy Orton the greatest wrestler ever. We were talking about this earlier. In the wake of his win over Edge at Backlash and his heinous attack on Christian, retiring, well, that's what he claimed, both guys. The Viper arrived to accept the honor and let the WWE Universe know that he has plans, once again, commenting on his legacy of being the Legend Killer, which made me all of a sudden think like, you're not going to fucking RKO Ric Flair, which would have been fucking crazy and actually would have been much more nuts than what happened. However, the Big Show arrived to tell off Orton for his ruthless actions last week. Remember, the last time we saw Big Show, he popped up and fought Drew McIntyre after his Mania match and was a heel. But now, because he had his Netflix show, that, during a promo beforehand, he definitely had a plug, which I actually do like. It's very charming. Don't expect it to be fucking Emmy Award-winning material, people. However, he basically wanted to take out Randy for his actions after a heated back and forth. The world's largest athlete dared Orton to step up, but Orton and Flair left, and the Viper, warning the Giant of what happens next, is on him. So we have something I don't care as much. It's going to get Randy to get another legend, Legend Killer, that type of gimmick. But the Flair kind of now seems like he's going to be Randy's manager. And I liked what he was saying. I like Randy's cutting great promos, like we already said. He can't do anything with Edge, so now they have to take him to a different direction. But this will be a fine pairing for a match. I'm more like the Ric Flair, Randy Orton, and it's just like a matter of time of, is Randy Orton going to turn on Rick? Also, and I put this on our Facebook on Geek Vibes Nation, just for the Four Horsemen, there's always been a rotating fourth, but there's been 3 members that have been a part of it, usually. Well, Tully later on, but that's a different Four Horsemen to me in the 90s. Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, and Ric Flair. Ric Flair gets Randy Orton, Arn Anderson gets Cody Rhodes, and Tully Blanchard gets Shawn Spears. What the fuck? Anyways, Chris, comment on this segment.
10. That's a good gimmick, right? It's not like anyone on this podcast has ever talked about how that would fail. I don't even know where to go because you threw the Shawn Spears thing. The Randy Orton, Ric Flair interaction was great. I just expected him to punt Ric Flair because if he's the Legend Killer, kill the Legend. In fact, I would have him fucking punt. I mean, you can do a punt without actually doing a hit in general. It requires 0 bumps, right? It just depends on how you film it. I would have him punt his own dad. I'd have him be punting everyone. Anyone that's in the Hall of Fame. Call him up. Randy Orton should be punting them if you're going to bring it back as a Legend Killer. But outside of that, I don't know. the Sasha Banks and iconic stuff. I not very good. Flair was great. Orton was great. It filled up a lot of time.
Do you think that that's inevitably going to happen? That, Rick's going to be in his corner for a while, and then eventually Randy's going to fucking just either punt or RKO him?
I don't think he's going to catch an RKO, but the punt is the fact they're bringing back the punt makes it very serviceable for Ric Flair, right? Because they're not going to let Rick take a bump because of all.
Even though he would.
I mean, he would. I'm not saying. I mean, Rick's probably taking a bump at his house right now. Like his wife accidentally opened a cabinet too fast. He just took a bump.
Do you think he put his jacket on the ground and gave it an elbow drop like that?
Yeah. But I like doctors in WWE because they don't want to get sued. They're like, Rick, you can't take a punt. But the punt, you can, if you pull the camera angle right, you don't even have to hit the guy with your foot, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like yes, he is getting punted to oblivion, and it would be so great if they, like, I don't know, bring in everyone. Bring in Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. What's he doing? Let him punt that guy. Like Sting.
Oh no! What if Ricky get a confrontation and then he goes to do the crossbody and goes right into an RKO and then a punt? See, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Is he too old?
No. People would love that. People love RKO out of nowhere. Anyways, Randy Orton's on fire right now, and I don't know what happened in the past. I don't know how long we've been doing this show. 3 years. What the hell happened? Did Randy Orton
finally gives a shit
or something? Yeah, like I've been burying him for 3 years, and now I have to put him over because he's been really great. What the hell? I'm gonna blame it on the company. That's all I can do. I'm blaming you, Vince.
Blame it on COVID. That was a joke that actually makes sense because it's all been happening. I don't know. Maybe he's getting more time. Anyway, so like you were kind of alluding to, Billie Kay and Peyton Royce set out to make Championship Monday a repeat of WrestleMania 35, where they dethroned Sasha and Bayley to become the women's tag team champions. However, it was not meant to be. And Banks forced Royce to tap out with a bank statement. I think that they're going to put more stuff between Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, which I don't get, but they've already alluded to this when Billie slapped her when she lost the match. So I kind of see that coming. I don't care for the match. I'm just glad that Sasha and Bayley got that fucking win back for Mania. That's the only thing I could say about this.
WWE doesn't care about tag teams. That's it. That's my only comment on the match.
That's it. All right, so after the match, the boss said that she heard Bayley talk about being a double champion and wants to become one too. And it was almost like, uh-oh, is this finally going to happen? And then she called out Raw Women's Championship or champion Asuka. So the Empress of Tomorrow accepted the challenge, but she basically came in the ring, got in her face, and Sasha got her in the bank statement. So we got a good match set up. I don't think they give a fuck about the brand split, so whatever. I'm just not going to even get annoyed by that. I guess because they're the tag champions, they can go from one to the other, so I guess technically I'm not going to even fucking give them credit for that. But we're getting Sasha versus Asuka. That should be good. This reminds me, do you think they're going to do the two-man power trip where they just have both belts? They have all the belts?
I don't even think that. I think it's just building to a four-way at Mania.
That could be it too, man. I could definitely see that.
So Becky's not going to be there, but you're going to get Charlotte, Asuka, Sasha, and Bayley in a four-way. And the feud is going to be between the feud you're building is between Bayley and Sasha. And if they do it right, that'll be great. Like we've been asking for it for a while.
Yeah.
So
that's the question. So in this match at the next pay-per-view, Extreme Rules, between Sasha and Asuka, does she get the title from Asuka and now they have all the belts, or does Bayley do something like she's been doing where she'll like just, say, yeah, Sasha will fight you and gets her into some shit or kind of screws up in a tag match? Does Bayley cause Sasha the belt and cause tension finally between the two of them?
I think that's where they're going, is that Bailey will cost Sasha the match in some form, even if it's like a DQ finish or whatever. And then you could just have Asuka exist on the other brand, because it seems like they're building Natalya and Lana to feud with Asuka. I don't think they're going to take the title off her this soon, especially because she didn't really win the title. She just won that weird Money in the Bank thing. Like, it's very suspect. Also, where's Kairi Sane in all this?
I don't know, getting her face put back together because of fucking Nia.
She shanks her in a parking lot or something. Like, he walks up and stabs her in the leg 7 times. The hell is going on?
I don't know, man. All right, so despite being rammed shoulder first into a turnbuckle by Shelton Benjamin during MVP's VIP lounge, Apollo Crews fought through the pain and defeated the basically Benjamin. But after Crews found out that rebuffing MVP's offer comes at a price, as Bobby Lashley emerged and gave him the full Nelson. So it looks like we're going to put these guys together. I could see them putting the title on Bobby. I guess he's representing Shelton now too. But, you know, they're doing the whole thing where Apollo's the super babyface. There's no way he'd join a bad guy group. So that's what they went with. I still really like Apollo Crews. I think he's a great in-ring wrestler, and I like seeing him get some spotlight. I just don't see it now that Paul Heyman's in charge lasting too long. And that title could actually look pretty good on Bobby Lashley with his new position with MVP. What do you think?
What do you mean? You mean Paul Heyman's not in charge anymore?
What did I say?
You said he was in charge.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you
got you.
for correcting
I'm just
me.
making
You got
sure
my back.
we're reversing. Yeah, got you. Tag me in, dog. Apollo Crews has been awesome. Like, I thought this was a good segment for Apollo Crews. They should do something with this guy. They can easily build him into a Kurt Angle type character. He's not going to be Kurt Angle because I don't think he has the personality, but he has the in-ring skills to be something bigger if you book him properly. I think everyone's been saying that for years. I'm just confused on why he came up from NXT so quickly.
I don't know, man.
Because if he'd won the title in NXT when he came into your main roster, it would have been a bigger deal. And you buried him for 2 years. He was part of Titus O'Neil's little crew. People forget about that, but was Titus Enterprises or whatever.
Oh, God dang it, man. What was Titus's? Yeah, it was something. It was him, Dana Brooke, and man, I forgot what the name of it is. Probably because it really didn't need to happen. But also, since you said that, Titus O'Neil got a huge award. I forgot what the name of it is, but it was a very prestigious award for, helping out his community and rebuilding it and just being a good dude. I think it's a Muhammad Ali award. I could be wrong about that. But congratulations to him, and that's fucking awesome. Maybe WWE could push him since he's a good dude and a pretty good wrestler based on his size. Probably not.
I mean, they could, but if he touches Vince McMahon on the back, he's going to catch a month suspension.
Yep.
We should talk about that.
You son of a bitch.
Titus O'Neil's out there being the face of your company and doing good things for your company and being a guy that everyone loves. He's at the Nick Awards. He's basically he's like an underrated John Cena. And then he pats you on the back and you suspend him for a month? Fuck off. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm still pissed about that. We talked about, you want to dive into the archives, listeners? We definitely talked about this before.
So he got the Muhammad Ali Sports Humanitarian Award. That's a huge prestigious award in Tampa. And good up, Titus. I agree with everything Chris said, though. So the last thing that we had for Monday Night Raw was a segment with Rey Mysterio. He returned to the ring, expressed pride in his son Dominic for fighting off Seth, not based on what he told him not to do, but he fought him off and got away from his disciples, but he expressed that he needed to settle the score with Rollins himself. It wouldn't be long before the Midnight Messiah, Murphy and Austin Theory arrived and tried to intimidate Mysterio and Dominic. However, Mysterio had backup with Aleister Black and Humberto Carrillo, who helped turn the tides in the fight. Things looked bleak when Rollins and his crew got a hold of Dominic and tried to inflict the same eye injury on him while Ray watched, but Black and Carrillo arrived with chairs to stop these guys. So it looks like we're going to be getting a 3-on-3. I'm assuming Dominic's not going to be involved in this. Either that or Mysterio maybe gets taken out. I don't know if they're going to do that, but Mysterio, Alistair, Humberto against the Straight Edge Society point two. What do you think?
I think babyface when you put Dominic over, or now this is fantasy booking. They lose, he gets brutalized, they ruin his face, and they make a point to show that his face is ruined. And now he starts donning his dad's mask. He starts being Rey Mysterio Jr., basically. I think there's so many ways to get Dominic over. He's good in ring, and also his dad is Rey Mysterio Jr. So, I don't know how I can't even come up with a scenario on how they can fuck this up, but I also know they can possibly fuck this up.
Yep.
But what would you think about them taking his eye? And that's why he wears a mask. That's why he switches to being a full lucha to replace your, Ray's not going to be there forever, but they could be a tag team, and then Ray could retire, be his manager. I think there's a good way for him, good reasoning for him to don the mask, right? Lucha, that's the importance of donning the mask is family lineage and what what the Aztecs went through according to Lucha Underground. So
yeah.
But you get what I'm saying. You can build a storyline around this. I don't know. I know that he's lost a lot of weight and he looks in way better shape than he did when he first showed up.
He looked great in that attack against Seth Rollins, man. He was very quick.
Yeah, so that's how I would build it. If it's me personally building it, I'm they slaughter his face somehow. Obviously I'm 1970s, but Abdullah the Butcher, he pulls out a knife and he just starts slicing the face. And now this man has to don a mask because you've ruined his face. Right?
This is very interesting. I like it. You can do it at the pay-per-view. You can have a 3-on-3, Dominic's in the corner of them, and then afterwards they knock out all the heroes and do what they were going to do before, have Ray watch while they take it out on Dominic, and then he has to wear a mask for whatever reason, for whatever they do to him, and you can kind of go down that route. I like that idea. I'm just wondering, is Seth Rollins, we kind of talk about this every single time, the Midnight Messiah, the Monday Messiah, is that really fucking doing anything for him? I want him to go, and I've said this a million times, when I first started watching wrestling, I was very impressed by Seth as a heel. I thought he was very good, and I thought he was, very Triple H-ish in aspects, but he was the Architect was such a fucking dislikable heel. This one is just boring. As far as a cult leader, he's just, I put Brody Lee over him right now. And you've had so many good ones in the past. CM Punk, Bray Wyatt, Kevin Sullivan, Raven. It's just not working for me. I want the Architect, if he's going to be a heel. I think that's been the best of Seth, period, so far. I love that babyface run. That was a fucking minuscule moment. But I think the Architect, that swarmy heel where he's a dickhead, it's better for him, man. I don't know.
What if the savior is the Messiah goes to NXT and he's still part of the Undisputed Era, and then you have the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse?
That's interesting. Or just a 4th member and calling him that. I like that name. The personality, is it working for you as a gimmick?
No. But also, I don't think Seth has ever been that good at promos. Even going back to ROH. He's a great wrestler. Seth is a great entertainer, great wrestler. WWE ruined him. When he came back from double knee injury surgery, they should have just had him been the biggest babyface of all time. So I blame this all on WWE. Like, why would he be a heel coming back? Like, they popped for him like they did Triple. They did the same fucking thing with Triple H. When Triple H came back from that quad injury and he won that Royal Rumble, he was like the biggest babyface of all time at that point. Like, why would you have not have done that with Seth? And then instead he was a heel, and Finn got his arm broken and whatever. They put the title on Kevin Owens, which was great because Kevin Owens is a good champion, but he was a transitional champion because you're bringing in Goldberg, you're bringing in Brock, you're doing a bunch of other shit. There's a lot of conversation to be had about Seth Rollins. His career could be a different trajectory if he would have came back at Mania after those knee injuries and won as a babyface and been a babyface against the company instead of like 7 months later he's a babyface. A lot of his career would look a lot different, because even the Bray Wyatt thing I think people would forgive because they're like, he was like, he's kind of like John Cena. But the problem with Seth Rollins is like, you never know what his character is. Like, he's the Monday Night Messiah. That's just a gimmick that Michael Cole said to me. Like, it's not like Bray Wyatt where he has actual cult. He just has dudes that hangs around with him. It's not believable. It's not like Aleister Black sitting in a closet or whatever, like chanting around candles. Like, that's believable. But Seth Rollins' Monday Night Messiah gimmick is like, I just say a bunch of stuff into a camera and then they give me a gimmick. That's how it comes off to me. Like, the Brody Lee example is great because Brody Lee's character does seem like he is starting like a militia of wrestlers, specifically with the Colt Cabana stuff. So I have a problem with it, but it's easily solvable because Seth Rollins is very good. You just get, one or two other guys. You do the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse thing. You can use 4 Horsemen, obviously, because you own all the rights to all that shit anyways. And maybe he makes Ric Flair a manager or something. Like, that's what they should be doing.
Maybe
now, what they're actually
combine
doing
them with Mr. Randy Orton, who already likes Austin Theory a lot and has put him over. Maybe make that a unit.
Are you saying they should?
Or is that too much?
I think they should fucking get Randy Orton, call him the cleaner. Because if you're gonna be a dick to the other, if you're gonna be a dick to competition, you might as well throw the full birds like Austin, right? Like, might as well. I mean, like, what are you gonna do, Randy Orton? He's the cleaner. Because you can't there is no like copy infringement of calling someone the cleaner, because it's from the Pulp Fiction movie. I mean, he's the wolf, he's the cleaner. So you could definitely do that. That would be awesome. I don't think they're going to do any of the shit we just said, but it would be great.
Probably not. Yeah, I agree. All right, well, I guess let's go to AEW. I thought Dynamite this week was pretty damn good. We opened up with the Lumberjack match with Wardlow and Luchasaurus, and once again, I think they need to explain to their announcers the way they're going to do some of these matches, especially JR, because JR, I think, is traditional Lumberjack matches. I don't think it's, no disqualification, technically. I think that if you get thrown outside, you get thrown back in. That's about it. So they were doing things, and JR seemed confused, and I don't think it was his fault too much. But, dude, to see these two guys, Wardlow, who's very impressive looking, reminds me almost of Scott Norton. I think I've thrown that before at other guys, but at least look-wise, and scary motherfucker. And Luchasaurus is always awesome, but bell rang, these two behemoths ran at each other, they collided, they threw hands, got some shots in. Luchasaurus landed kicks, pushed Wardlow to the ropes. Luchasaurus ran into a lariat. I mean, it just went off with the baby faces getting a chance to attack Wardlow. They backed the fuck off. And then you would have it with Luchasaurus getting thrown out, and the heels beat the shit out of him. I don't know why Ricky Starks is with the heels. I want to say that. I think he's more suited as a babyface, especially like later on when he's helping break up Sheeta from killing Penelope Ford and also last week. But whatever. That's a minor detail. Then the fighting outside happens, and you basically have Jurassic Express going against Wardlow and MJF. And they go up to the top ramp, and people are just getting thrown the fuck off into the crowd of people. A lot of it was gaga, but it was still a fun big guy match that I enjoyed. And, the ending with Wardlow getting the win. So now he's 5-1, I believe. And still some tension between Jungle Boy, or Jurassic Express against MJF and Wardlow. And we got announced from Tony Khan via Tony Schiavone that he had just word that he just booked for Fyter Fest a match with Wardlow and MJF going against Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. So that should be pretty good, man. Like I said, I really like this match. Some of the silliness is just there, but I think they did it well. You know, the babyface and the heels, lumberjacks start just beating the shit out of each other. They're not paying attention. And, you got, I think Wardlow threw Jungle Boy. He fucking launched Marco Stunt, went up in the air. And then he got knocked off, and MJF got knocked off by Luchasaurus. And then Luchasaurus does a fucking shooting star press on top of all of them. So it was pretty fucking. It was pretty crazy. How'd you like it for an opening match?
Wardlow is like Vince McMahon's wet dream. So I don't know how they're gonna miss on this guy. They're doing the Shawn Diesel angle. That's what they're doing. So if like you were saying, if they end up doing this tag match, and they've teased like MJF abusing him, etc. He's gonna turn on him, and I think he can be a huge deal because like I don't want to compare him to Diesel because he's a way fucking better wrestler than Kevin Nash. That guy is incredible. And I said that after that Cody match. I was like, he's fucking incredible. And then we only saw like 2 matches before.
Yeah, dude.
That cage match. Like he is great. And he saved Cody's life too. So we should talk about that. Where he saved Cody's life after he went off the top. And he had to like walk around like a
that was their live.
Yeah. I texted you immediately. I was like, "Oh my God, Wardlow just saved Cody Rhodes' life." That's a guy you can get behind as a big guy, and he's stacked. I don't know. I love Wardlow. I think he's going to be a huge star. I could be completely wrong. Maybe he needs to lose the name. Maybe just War should be his name or something, but. He's going to have the Diesel push. That's what they're doing. There's a lot of things in AEW that they recycle from other companies, and this one. This one definitely seems like he's going to fuck MJF up at some time.
Dude, I'm still convinced. I don't know. Like Cody throwing up the 4, in his promo the week previous and scratching his chest for some reason. And then with Arn Anderson and now this rumor that Tully's going to manage FTR, I think we're going to get basically the Sting versus Horseman storyline, and Darby Allin's going to get his win fucking from Cody eventually, and Cody's going to go heel. I really think that's going to happen.
It seems a lot like AEW fans or in general, the booking is like, you remember when the 90s were good? Here's those storylines.
Remember when the late 80s and 90s? This year you go. Yep, I agree.
So I'm assuming that he's gonna kill MJF at some point.
God, man, that's gonna be fun. Hey, even I would love it if MJF is the reason why they lose and he gets pissed off at Wardlow. Like that'd be great.
What I mean, yeah, that's Sean versus Sean with Diesel and Sean with Sid after the fact. He's always pissed at the other guy. They have nothing to do with it. It's such
Sean
a good
was a good
story.
heel back in the day.
Yeah. Well, are you saying that HBK is a good wrestler, Darren?
Just in general, all around, yes, I am. The
Okay.
Michael Jordan of fucking wrestling. Thank you very much. All right, so here.
Would dunk on him.
Well, yeah, you're right about that. Kirishita comes out, but before her match begins, what's his name? Penelope Ford's boyfriend, Kip Sabian. That's how irrelevant he is. He was getting her attention or flagging her down. Penelope Ford, she goes beeline for her. She's talking a bunch of shit. Argument breaks out, almost gets in a fight. So Sheeta's like, I got to get this shit over with real quick, and I'll be right back. She goes in against this poor girl, Red Velvet, beats her in 5 seconds with a running knee, and just gives her the Falcon Arrow, done, and then goes after fucking Penelope Ford. Punches Kip Sabian in the goddamn face, and finally they break up between Ricky Starks pulling her away and fucking Kip Sabian pulling Penelope Ford away. I'm really looking forward to this match. I like the build-up. I liked all of this, and it made Sheeta look like a fucking badass.
They've booked Sheeta very well, and your synopsis of that is exactly how I felt. I was like, so I don't know. Sheeta showed up and she whipped everybody's ass.
Jesus.
Like, it wasn't even close. Like, it was a squash match, but they did it very well. There was so much extracurricular activities happening. It was like, but she gave zero fucks. She's like, I'm gonna win this match because I'm the champion. My God, Sheeta is great. Sheeta is great.
Yep. So we had something that was kind of interesting. They tried to have basically a UFC press conference for the match with Jake Hager and Cody. And Jake was, playing the person that's late coming in, Conor McGregor, and being that fucking dickhead while Cody's on time. Arn Anderson basically says that Jake's got, he thinks he's better than everyone and that he's such an efficient fighter, but it's not going to work with Cody. Cody cuts a promo about Ricky Starks and how, he believes in the American dream and that Ricky didn't have, a whole lot. He came to the company and left with a fucking job. And, he's going in his babyface direction. And then Jake comes in with his wife, finally shows up, gets a little bit of shit from Cody and Arn. They go to do the face-off, and Jake, and this has happened in UFC, that, puts his fist to Cody's face. The dude's getting a brawl, somewhat. Cody, well, actually, Arn goes for him to want to fight him. Cody's like, don't fucking worry about it. I can handle it. And then Jake's wife throws water in his face. Brandy gets all pissed off, and the Hagers leave. Didn't think this was that bad. Jake's not going to win, just like he didn't win against Moxley, but he looks impressive. He's got that pedigree of being an MMA fighter. I get it. And I thought they pulled this off pretty well. I like the sports feel for things. I think at one point Arn got Jake confused with Jake Roberts when he was talking about him, but, whatever. Arn's Arn. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. How'd you like all this, Chris?
Well, I loved it because it's very New Japan.
Yep.
As far as wrestling, when you're doing the backstage press conferences and you have a bazillion reporters, who the hell are the reporters? It's just guys that you hire, I guess. I don't know. Like Dave Meltzer wasn't there, so
that'd been awesome. Hey, yeah, what are you guys?
But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So they hired guys that were reporters, right? I actually think there's a chance that Jake just takes this title
and sends Cody over the edge
for a hook or crook. Yeah, I think that's where they're going with the storyline, especially because of what the Young Bucks are doing right now, where they're kind of the heel team. I think that might be where they're going. Honestly, I could be wrong. But
Yep.
It would make the most sense to me that you would send this guy over there. Like Jake Hager just straight beats him. He's just gonna hook an ankle lock and just beat him. And then you get a submission match between him and Cody. That would be the smart thing, right? Because Cody's been winning via submission very recently. He's been winning via submission for like well, like he gets caught in the ankle lock or something, or whatever Jake Hager wants to throw on him. I mean, that guy's like he legit knows other UFC type moves. Like he put him in a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming ankle lock would be the thing, right? So I think Jake Hager might win this because I think the end idea is to push Jericho out of that group to have the comeback of Jericho, right? So to me, that's how I would book it. I don't know what they're doing, but AW and my booking mind are very similar. So I'm assuming that he's gonna win that title.
It's weird, but yeah, I could see that happening now that you mention it. Here's something else that I find weird: the placement of this next match and the outcome. So they built with a package and they re-showed it. Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss kind of meeting up to become a tag team, and they make them go against another storyline that's going on with Brody Lee and Colt Cabana. But who the fuck do you have win in this situation? We know the outcome now, but didn't really help Joey Janela or Sonny Kiss. But this is a good match. I'm happy to see Sonny again back on TV. This was long. It shows really because I think there was like a head scissors against Brody from Sonny, and he bumped it. Like, Brody's a very impressive dude for his size. I think we always forget that. But it's also weird that Colt Cabana hasn't really 100% joined the Dark Order, but he's tagging with Brody Lee, and we know that Colt Cabana is this super baby face. But yeah, they got the win at the end, and then afterwards, Lance Archer comes and attacks Sonny and Joey. And Janela throws a chair at him, but Archer no-sells and kicks the shit out of him. And then Roberts is pulling Archer away. So now we got this scenario that seems like Jake can't handle his monster. And what, is he going to just go against the two of them by himself? I'm confused on all of it. Maybe Jake's going to be the tag partner. I don't know. What do you think, Chris?
Confusing, for sure, but if the idea is that Jake can't control his monster and he's going to bury all these guys and that's your new star, do it. Lance Archer's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, there's no reason not to do that, right? Like, why is Lance Archer not murdering everyone on a weekly basis? Jake's like, I got you.
Monster.
He's like, I got you a title match, Beforehand, you were just fighting in your backyard for fun. In a wrestling ring at Darby Allin's house, or whatever the hell that was. But I thought this was pretty good overall. There's a lot of questions, and it's a lot of booking decisions, right? I mean, for me, Lance Archer is the star of the guys that you mentioned, so I would push him.
Yep. No, I agree. So we had the next match. This was not supposed to happen. I forgot who FTR was supposed to. No, they're supposed to go against Dustin and QT Marshall. But like Jon Moxley, which we found out was related to his wife Renee, QT Marshall was in contact with someone who was in contact that got COVID. So he let them know that and isolated himself. So he's not going to be back for 2 weeks. Which sucks because it seems like him and Dustin were getting something of a push, and I found the videos of DDP bestowing the diamond cutter to his fellow Jerseymen that he's helped out in the past. Pretty funny on Twitter, and also just whatever. It could be another person to me, but whatever. If you want to give it to QT Marshall, go for it. But anyways, so we had instead a fucking kind of a dream match with SCU and FTR. And it's the fact I love Scorpio Sky, but it's more of the old school of Frankie Kazarian and whatchamacallit, Christopher Daniels, which we haven't seen that pairing in a while. And I thought these guys had an excellent match, especially since it was basically on the spot. They only had QT got a hold of them a day before the fucking taping or some shit like that. So it was a fucking great tag match. And both guys, I think that JR had a big smile on his face the whole entire time. They're grabbing the tag ropes. JR's very excited about that concept. And FTR ends up winning. I just go back. It looked like a fucking match from back in the day, basically. It really did. It flowed well. I'll say, man, two guys, I got to say, they look so fucking stiff when they're walking, and it doesn't take back from their in-ring work. It's Christopher Daniels and Matt Hardy, man. They look like their bodies are, they're getting older, but they're in pain. They look like they're walking like they're in pain, and it kind of concerns me. I'm not trying to make fun of them, but both of them. Am I crazy for thinking this? But every time I see Christopher Daniels, he just seems like he's not loose anymore. He's getting older, and he feels the effect of wrestling. Same thing with Matt.
I mean, friend of the show, Christopher Daniels, watch earlier stuff. Like 2005, he was doing crazy ass shit. Like Christopher Daniels is one of the best.
He's getting older.
He's one of the best wrestlers to ever step between the ropes. Like Christopher Daniels is great. He is great, but yes, he is getting older, and he's like, at some point, if you're not going over as champ, like, yeah, you take the bumps and then you leave, like you just said. Man, my God. I feel like we should call Christopher Daniels real soon.
Yeah, we should do that.
Because I think the last time we talked to him was right before WrestleMania, even before AEW started.
I know, man. It's just like talking to I'd love to talk to John Morrison again before he went, when he was talking about, I might go to New Japan, I might go to Mexico, and then he goes back to WWE, But getting back to the meat of this match, like I said, it was a very old school style match, but it's still very fast paced, a lot of fun. I love that part where Kazarian, they did the drop down and he goes for a leapfrog and fucking, I don't know if it's Dax, one of them. I don't remember their new names, but catches them in the fucking air, throws them on the goddamn ground. Like, it was a very violent match. And then afterwards we had something very interesting. I think that, to me, at least, it wasn't as... We should take one tag team out, basically, and we should have inserted one in. But since they've already had interactions, the Butcher and the Blade come out in... I think they stole the truck, basically, of FTR, and they were talking shit to them, and, they were alluding that they should look behind them. The return of the fucking Lucha Brothers. Completely, Phoenix is healed up. We have Pentagon finally back. And Dax said something funny online where he was like, they were like, zero fear. That's fine. You guys kind of hold the ropes 0 times or something like that, just giving shit to them. But I wish, no offense to Butcher and Blade, take them out of the situation, put LAX in here, and then we're going to get a tag match. We would have gotten a tag match. We are getting one with Butcher, Blade, the Lucha Brothers against FTR and the Young Bucks who came out to help out FTR, which I think this is going to be a situation where finally afterwards FTR beats the shit out of the Young Bucks. So I'm assuming, I don't know, and goes completely heel. But God, could you imagine, Chris, if we just took out Butcher and Blade, who aren't doing that bad of a job, but we put LAX in that situation, and it's LAX and Lucha Bros against fucking FTR and fucking Young Bucks? It would have been amazing.
Well, Dane, can you imagine a world where one show has 4 tag teams the entire WWE?
Damn, man. Such stacked tag teams. God,
like, if
dude.
it was a territory, like Midnight Express and Rock and Roll Express would both be there. Jesus.
The Rock and Roll Express could be there eventually, man. Just let them come in.
Yeah, I forgot about that shit. They are there. And the Hardys are going to be there soon, too. I don't think this Jeff run is going to last.
No.
Great. I look forward to this. I love Phoenix and Pentagon as a tag team, and them pointing out their deficiencies of not wrestling the American style of tag team by not holding the tag rope or just doing whatever the hell they want. But at the end of the day, that's on your referee. Unless the referee is gonna call it, like, they're just being heels. The ref has to call it. The ref at some point, they need to have one of those where like Audrey Edwards is like, this shit's out of control, and just calls it and gives the win to the other team. And then now you know what that tag match is, right? The problem is the people that have a problem with this kind of match is it's a lawless. You have a referee there, but they're doing dick all. It has nothing to do with the performance or what's jumping in the ring, and they're getting all over the place. You can do that.
You know how
call it.
You know how lucha tag team, they do it a bit differently. You can just have a guy roll out on the same side. The other person can just come in. They don't really hold the rope. They don't really all the time tag each other in. They kind of – it's a different – I heard Conan break this down. It's just a different in the way that Mexico does it compared to the U.S.
Exactly. Which if you're going to try to like make fun of a team or punish them for it, then you do it through the rules. You do it through the referees, right? So like you could have the Lucha Brothers about to win a match, but they cheated, right? In theory of your rules, and you just send the match out. You DQ it. This is the problem with not having any DQ. I know they don't want to do DQ finishes because of the dusty finish. So Cody is very opposite of that. But in some terms, there's a reason why to have DQ finishes. This is one of those examples. I'm very excited that Rey Fenix is back, and I am very surprised that he came back so fast after surgery. That guy must be a monster. He's basically Wolverine.
Yep, I agree. All right. Next thing, Brian Cage comes out and destroys someone. Well, first of all, before that, Taz had another one of those segments where he breaks down a wrestler. Obviously, this time it was for Brian Cage. I like it when he does this. I don't know if this was just his last one. It was going to be for his wrestler, but it's been cool in the past. He kind of like John Madden's, like, you know, the circles, the situation of like what they do exactly, and went over his finisher, which is basically the screwdriver. I like that stuff. But Taz, him, come to the ring. They beat up this poor schmo, Joe Cruz, in 1 minute and 25 seconds. And it's because Cage wanted to basically torture him for a while. So he was being a cat with his fucking prey or some shit. And afterwards, Taz gets to the ring and asks where Moxley is. Says that Moxley's at home scared. Says Moxley can't keep running because of the Machine. Brian Cage is going to take that title at Fyter Fest. Taz tells Moxley to ask himself if he can stop the path of Cage. The only thing that sucks about this is we know that Moxley is now quarantined, and there's a good chance, especially based on the fact that his wife has, COVID, that he's not going to be able to make it at Fyter Fest. So what the fuck are they going to do with their championship match, or their match, I guess, with Brian Cage in general? What do you think, Chris?
Darby Allin.
That would be good. That would be a good replacement.
They're just going to give him the title because Moxley can't defend it, so you win the title, and then Darby Allin. Or you just put it on the line, and like even if Darby Allin loses, I feel like that's what I would do. Right? And then you have a pissed off Moxley coming back. And now
for his title that they stripped him.
That he never lost. Very much CM Punk, like put it in the refrigerator, or like, Bones Jones when he came back. He's like, I didn't lose my fucking title. Like, I got suspended, but I didn't lose my title. Like, who's actually gonna fight me? You guys want to fight me? You can tell that storyline, even if he has to miss the pay-per-view. And that's the storyline they should tell. Is like, I didn't lose the title. Like, you guys you came up with your own title, but I'm still the title holder because no one beat me. Right?
And honestly, I would do that even if you have Darby. Darby can take another loss. I would actually regardless, I put the title on Brian Cage as a heel champion. And if you do your scenario, then Jon Moxley comes back for his fucking throat, and you have something there. You can even have a situation where Darby wins the match, but Taz causes it to be, some fuck finish, so it doesn't look that bad. And then you still have Darby wanting to get go after Brian Cage. You can go with that later. You know, I don't know. I like all that. I really do. Because what the fuck are you going to do if he has COVID? He's out until when?
He can't do shit. What's he going to do? Go infect Brian Cage with his COVID? Like, you know, people have lives.
He can go back to WWE and get more of those shots from that doctor.
It turns out wrestlers have actual lives outside of wrestling, Dane. I'm not sure if you're
Weird.
aware of this, but going home to your wife, who works for a company, does zero dick all to prevent COVID. We'll get into that on the next show. But, like, like, what is he going to do? I mean, to me, you strip the title. You strip the title because he's unable to defend it. New Japan does this. Other companies have done this. UFC does this. If you can't defend it within a certain amount of days, you strip it. You put it on the line, and you fucking put Darby Allin in there. Because they set that up in the ladder match anyways with him and Darby Allin. They did the skateboard thing afterwards. And he's the most person that makes sense. And then whoever wins that match wins the title. And then when Moxley comes back, he's like, I'm the actual champion. It's just good storybooking. Like, I think they're going to do that because this one is not that far-fetched or that hard.
No.
And AEW is pretty good at booking. And I'm sure Chris Jericho said the same shit when they asked him about it.
All right. Well, let's put all these segments together. Brody Lee and Colt Cabana are backstage, and they're gloating about their win. Lee challenges SCU at Fyter Fest and says that he'll bring his best men, and slaps Colt on the shoulder, insinuating that I think those guys are officially in the same group. I don't know. It's weird because Colt's supposed to be buddies with SCU, and I think this is a number one contender match at Fyter Fest. The announcer run down to Fyter Fest, which is 2 nights, a bunch of fun matches, and I don't see a match with Darby Allin on there. That's kind of interesting, going back to what we were talking about. Here's the best part. So Britt Baker doing her thing, but now she has this plexiglass, so she can't. So there's no way Big Swole or anyone can get to her with Rebel, on the outskirts, who could easily be like her muscle, but instead she's kind of like just her, I don't know, her personal care, I guess. But one of the notes she sent earlier that I can remember to Tony Schiavone was that someone needs to check out the medical reasons of why Luchasaurus has a green tongue. Just more funny stuff between her and Tony, and Tony's reactions of being excited, but actually, it's bullshit whenever she sends the note like, "Yay, fuck my life." But she's running her mouth and says that she'll get her revenge on Big Swole, who then appears like, "Bitch, you talking shit?" And why are you running your mouth? And Swole, she's like, "You can't get to me because it's plexiglass." Well, Swole just climbs around and has a big thing of trash because, once again, Britt says that she was trash, and pours it all over her. It was pretty funny. So yeah, that's about it. That she should be good, I think, in 2 more weeks from her injury, and I think they've been setting it up really well and putting good use to Britt Baker and getting Big Swole over too as well in the scheme of things. What do you think, Chris?
Thought it was a great segment. Also, the Big Swole with Britt Baker. God, that's Tony Schiavone being involved in this is the greatest thing of all time, by the way. But like, shout out to Britt Baker, who tore her ACL and is still doing this wrestling, basically. I don't know if that makes sense, but like, she's legitimately injured and had to have surgery, and she still shows up week to week to do these tapings and these angles. I hope she's back, and I really look forward to a match between Big Swole and Britt Baker. Because I think Big Swole is a phenomenal athlete, and could be someone that's easily built into a good wrestler.
She's got charisma for sure, but yeah. Apparently, it wasn't her ACL, but it was still a knee injury, but it's not as bad So apparently she's going to be back in 2 weeks. So that's good. That's really good. Then we had our last match with Matt Hardy going against Santana. Obviously, they're supposed to be against Sammy Guevara. Well, between Matt Hardy and Santana, with Ortiz in his corner. Obviously, this is supposed to be him and Sammy Callahan, but due to stuff that we'll talk about tomorrow, Sammy was not there. But this is a good match between the two of them. It was Damascus Matt Hardy, so he was doing the yes and all that. But, pretty good match, like I said, between the two of them. Santana's an excellent wrestler in the ring, and Matt is no slouch. Like I said, Matt, once again, looks like he's wrestling hurt a bit. He looks in pain. The biggest thing is what happened at the end of the match. So Matt got the win over Ortiz. Santana. Ortiz comes in, starts beating the crap out of him with a sock full of coins, and he lifts Hardy up, and Hardy hits the street sweeper, and then Mark Quinn and Isaiah Cassidy come running out to make the save. After the match and a commercial break, Orange Cassidy comes to the ring, followed by Chris Jericho. The two of them will now face in 2 weeks at Fyter Fest. Jericho asks why the chicken crossed the road and said it's a dumb joke that gets more annoying the more you hear it, which reminds him of Orange Cassidy. When he first heard his name, he thought it was stupid, and when he first saw him wrestle, he thought it was an embarrassment to the business. Jericho's pulling some Jim Cornette-isms. Jericho says he called Cody, the Bucks, Tony, and more when he signed him, asking why. They all said the same thing. People love him. So he watched some more, and he kind of gets it. He's doing something different, and he's got over by being himself. And that's why people like Cassidy. He's lazy, a slacker, and doesn't have what it takes to get to the top, just like them. But OC broke out of his lane and made the mistake of getting in Jericho's business. And so far in the match, Cassidy needs not bring some little shin kicks because he'll knock his teeth out. And he'd better dig deep into these pockets to find something special because he's going to squeeze the juice out of him. Cassidy takes Jericho's mic, but sets it down and starts the shin kicks. Jericho looks pissed. As Cassidy puts his hands in his pocket, Jericho takes his glasses off, crushes them. Orange Cassidy tackles him to the ground and uploads. They brawled fucking everywhere, man. They brawl in the corner, they spill outside, they fight over the barricade, and Jericho pulls Cassidy's shirt over his head and punches him hockey style. Cassidy slams Jericho into a railing. Then they fight up through the crowd. Jericho slams a camera into Cassidy, then gets on the top of a production box and drags OC up. Jericho lifts Cassidy up, but he drops down and slams Y2J into the railing. Cassidy's ear is bleeding at this point. Cassidy runs down the steps and hits a Superman punch that knocks Jericho off a box and through a table. Fucking great last segment. Orange Cassidy looks like $20. This is legitimizing him as not just an act, as someone that can be like this tough ass. And Chris Jericho's awesome, man. He didn't have to do any of this, and he's helping him out, and this is going to put him over. And I wouldn't be surprised if Orange Cassidy gets a win over Y2J at Fyter Fest. I really think that he might put him over because that's Chris Jericho. He's looking out at the concept of how can we get stars? How can we get better wrestlers? Orange Cassidy, part of his gimmick is kind of silly. The heels always, if it's Pac, if it's Jericho, they don't fucking sell any of those kicks. So this is bringing the inner rage that we've seen sometimes in the independence circuit that Orange Cassidy's kind of known for, and he's a good in-ring wrestler. So I don't know, man. Orange Cassidy is a very different styled wrestler. I don't think I've ever really seen one in the past that has a similarity to him, gimmick-wise. And I hope this helps him out. And I love Chris Jericho, man. Great fucking promo. What do you think, Chris?
one, Chris Jericho is amazing, and two, Orange Cassidy is amazing. Being able to get this over as a mainstream gimmick to where Chris Jericho will sell for you is incredible. It's like we talked about to begin with. It's like he's gonna do his Orange Cassidy thing. I mean, if you go back like when we first saw the signing, the Battle Royal, the original match with him, I was like, well, that's weird that they would put him in there because he is a very different wrestler. But he's modded that and made it become, I'm pissed off and now I'm going to wrestle seriously. And he's been a highlight of very important matches. Like, to me, him climbing on top of Brian Cage's back is like one of my favorite moments from AEW. Like when Brian Cage is going for that at the pay-per-view, he's going for the we'll just call it a Money in the Bank or the title shot or whatever. He's just on his back, like crawling. Like, it's great. Like, he knows what he's doing. He's very, very good wrestler. I think the mindset sometimes is just like, this is what he did in the independent scene. But the independent scene is so different than like, this is what we're going to put on TV. And he has proven, or at least to me, he has proven that he is a good ass wrestler. As Brian Alvarez has pointed out, like, I mean, you don't have to do silly shit to have a good match with Orange Cassidy. I mean, you can do silly shit and make sure his gimmick gets over, but he's still a good wrestler. You can just have a normal ass wrestling match. It's phenomenal. I love Orange Cassidy so much.
I just thought of a dream match. I know I said one was Orange Cassidy versus R-Truth. Another one, and it's not really based off of anything except for because the other wrestler's not the greatest wrestler, as you noted beforehand. But if you had Big Daddy Cool Diesel and Orange Cassidy work out a match of who's the coolest, that would be fun. I think I would. I'd pop.
It's like zero wrestling there. They're like,
well, it would be a lot of evading, basically. Orange Cassidy running around him and Kevin trying to grab him. But you could do something.
Yeah, him and Kevin are looking at their Pog collection. It's like, who's got the best Pogs? Like playing a game of Pogs. 90s are awesome.
Cool, all right, do you want to get to NXT? Oh, sorry.
No, I was gonna say that would also be a great match. I mean, Diesel versus anyone like these kind of characters is great because he's a good big man. He only needs 5 moves. He's Undertaker. He's just a shittier version of Undertaker, but like it's Undertaker. He only needs to hit like the big leg, the leg drop,
that corner move.
Yeah, the shoulder bump in the corner. Like, it's Diesel. You just book it like a Diesel match. It'd be great.
Who is in wrestling though? There's not many people in reality. Screw his skills or his politicking. That's as cool as Kevin Nash. He just seems like a cool dude.
Yeah, I'm sure that pisses Scott Hall off a lot though, because like, one, Scott Hall is cooler, and also he went through that whole AWA training system and can actually work.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Razor Ramon versus fucking Orange Cassidy, same type of concept. It would probably be like 1, 2, 3 Kid versus Razor. I gotta stop fantasy booking.
I know.
Let's get to NXT.
Scott Hall's pretty good, turns out.
Yeah. Dude, I until he got his fucking drinking problems, he was so much better, obviously, in WWF than he was in WCW. It just was a slow decline.
I mean, even in AWA, if you're talking about ring work and shit, like, he's working with people that shouldn't even be in the ring. His big ass tossing them around it and selling. That's the big difference. It's like
Scott Hall was a great seller.
He's a big guy, but he didn't just need to be a big guy. He could sell. And it's the same reason I give Sid a little bit of a break, because you have to know how to sell, and Sid's a great seller, even when he's not breaking his own leg. So,
oh God, but, it's true though. It's true.
But it's part of it. And I think that's part of that. Like, I think Sid came up through kind of the same system that Razor Scott Hall versus Scott, like Kevin Nash. It's very different. Kevin Nash is very much the Hulk Hogan. I just need to do 5 things. I'm going to look cool while I'm doing it, which is awesome. Because he does look cool while he's doing it.
I'm just saying, Kev, if you're out there, Big Kev, if you want, we'd love to interview you because I've heard your interviews and you seem like a really cool dude. You know, just someone that you just, hey man, how's it going? You know, I'm Kevin Nash. Anyways, let's move on to NXT. We opened up with a good match. I just was kind of puzzled by the ending of it with Cameron Grimes and Damian Priest. It wasn't a long match either. You know, it kind of started off with Cameron originally before the match itself, taking out Damian and slamming himself in with his door in his car. It implied that he did, I should say. So Damian was hurt. Cameron Grimes got a pretty big win over Damian Priest, and it looked like they were kind of, you know, trying to bump Priest, but he loses Dijakovic, he loses the Lee. He loses to fucking Finn Balor, and now he lost to Cameron Grimes, so kind of questionable concept of what seems like Scott Hall's protege. But Cameron Grimes, man, woo! He's so fucking weird, but he's such a good wrestler. What did you think about this match?
It was fine. I'm still confused on the booking.
Me too.
Yeah, like, that one I have no answer for. But the match itself, I thought was pretty good. I don't know what you do with Cameron Grimes for here. Did you have an idea of if you could book him in any way you wanted, what would you do with Cameron Grimes?
I have no idea. I really don't.
Outside of changing his name from Cameron Grimes, because it's like a fucking terrible wrestling name.
Who is someone that he can have a program with that's a babyface that would make sense?
Balor,
I don't know.
But he's already did that, so.
Yeah, Balor got his win back, and before he got screwed over. Here's another question. What do you do with Damian Priest now? Because Damian, he's lost a lot.
They basically created 2 Kanes and put them in a feud together. You realize that, right? Like, it's like, well, you know, like every once in a while we're gonna have you look like a monster, but the other times you're just gonna be taking L's.
Yeah, it's just like credibility with what the fuck's his name? The Belfast the Beast of, God damn it, Killian Dane. You know, Killian, not just based on his influence, could be like a Van Vader, but actually he's getting used like Vader was in the mid 90s in WWE. Like, you get a win, you get a loss. You get a win. There you go.
Well, I mean, maybe he should listen to Vader and start taking up real estate, you know. Like, it worked out for Vader, okay?
Yeah. Or just, like, you know, get in a fight with Adam Cole backstage and then cry.
What happened? Hold on. I need to hear this story. Did he get in a fight with Adam Cole and cry?
No. Killian Dane didn't. Vader, after that incident with Shawn where he fucking bitched him out, very similar to what Randy Orton did to Kofi, and, you know, other people have done this, the stupid shit. But when Vader, I guess, screwed up and Shawn got pissed off at him, he was in the back, and I think Vince let him have it, and then afterwards JR was in there, and Leon started crying. And Jim Ross, who told this story, he probably does a way better job than me, had to be like, Leon, are you fucking kidding me? Like, get the fuck up, you know, you could murder someone. Get the fuck over it, and basically, like, you know, let's get to the next town. But you had to give him a little bit of motivation because he got pretty upset with Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, I mean, we should talk a little bit about that because, like, if you're missing your spots and there's a giant-ass target, it's probably on you, not the giant-ass target. All Vader does
Shawn was
catch
the dickbag, man.
All Vader's job is to catch people. That's all he's doing. He's just catching people. He's like, all right, Shawn, you're going to go to the top ropes? Okay, cool, I'll catch you.
Man,
Unlike AOP, who can't catch anyone. Jesus Christ. Sorry, I didn't go off on a tangent, but I was like, I thought you said that recently happened, not to the beginning.
No, I was just saying, like, imagine if that played out with Killian Dane going back there and beating the crap out of Adam Cole or some shit, using, I guess, Adam Cole as kind of like there's a lot of, at least, well, Adam's doing it as a fucking gimmick. Sean actually, at that point in late 96, 97, was that fucking gimmick of just being a fucking asshole. But, anyways.
If I'm Samoa Joe, next time I see someone in AOP, I'm choking them out. Like, Jesus Christ. They dropped him 4 times. It's still relevant.
Well, let's get to the next match. We had the debut of who was El Fantasma, now Santos Escobar, with Joaquin Wild, and Raul Mendoza. He's DJZ. That's what I always know him as. Stupid. Going against Jake Atlas, and they had a pretty damn good cruiserweight match. It ended after 7 minutes, and Santos obviously got the win. And I like this presentation. I like what's going on. We all know what's going to happen, though. Drake Maverick is going to have some redemption, and he's going to go after Santos. But I like this trio. I like this concept that they're doing. He's kind of not only taking on Drake, but he's desecrating the lineage of luchador. So now, if there is another luchador they want to use, which they have a million of them, he can kind of fucking take action to that. There's a lot that they can do, but I think that eventually within the storyline, Drake's going to get that title. But it's still, I'm looking forward to Drake Maverick coming back. I'm looking forward to the feud evolving between him and this new group led by Santos Escobar. Very put names in the hat type of name. Anyways, how'd you like that?
It's such a great wrestling name, Santo Escobar. I mean, even though he's like a Mexican luchador and that's a very Colombian name, it's great. I love it. I love the gimmick name. I never give them credit, and I bitch about gimmick names all the time, but that's a good one. The whole crew has good gimmick names in this little crew. My big problem is they should have booked it like I was saying, where you screw Maverick over at the pay-per-view. Now, like, he lost clean, right, without any interference or without this exposure. So now they're heels? The whole fucking thing is weird. Either the guy's a heel or he's not a heel. Wouldn't it have made more sense to pull the card at the pay-per-view to screw Drake over for the title? I mean, everything else around it I think's been okay. Because we missed, like, Drake Maverick, I think, last week had a pretty good promo. And I think he's been great. Rockstar Spud turns out it's pretty good. But the storyline is so weird. It's like, why wouldn't they have screwed him over in the first place if the entire idea was getting a cruiserweight championship, but he just wanted clean? So, like, why does he need a team to retain it? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I definitely get what you're saying, but I guess we'll have to find out. Will Drake Maverick have some people on his end to help him out? Maybe they'll bring Lucha House Party into it, even though they're on Smackdown. It's like, well, they're technically 205 Live, so he can have them, get backed up by these two badass luchadors. I don't know what happened to Kalisto. I know he got injured, but he's been gone for like 2 years, it feels like. But yeah, it's interesting stuff.
He's gone. His contract was up. He left.
Oh shit!
Kalisto,
we probably reported about that, and I completely forgot.
Yeah, Mystico. This is like a year ago. They had
no. That was Sin Cara, right?
Yeah. Well, Mystico is Sin Cara. Sorry, I forgot what WWE called him because they ruined his fucking gimmick.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, this next match I thought was pretty good. I think. The main reason is I think a lot of Dakota Kai and I think a lot of the potential of Kaden Carter, but Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez also using a very Shawn Michaels Diesel type of concept went against Casey Canizaro and Kaden. It's a good match. Gonzalez looked like a beast. Casey looks like, I think she took the pin in it, but potential to me is Dakota and Kaden. But I also like that they're building tag teams with NXT because they're finally fucking bringing those titles slowly for at least matches on that product. eventually, if you get the titles off of anyone on the main product and bring them in NXT, then you can actually do something with those tag titles and make fun fucking matches and shit. To me at least. But how'd you like this match, Chris?
I like the match. I also like the combination of maybe building tag teams. And as we saw with the ratings this week, having big stars show up in a tag match can bump your stock quite a bit. So Sasha and Bayley, for instance, they're no slouches. And if you have good tag teams down there for them to wrestle as a tag team, as the tag team champions, and if you build it properly, it can definitely work for your company. I thought this was great. Also, Caden Carter is very underrated.
Yes. All right, so Karrion Kross and Scarlett came out. They had a match against Bronson Reed. I've been impressed by Bronson in his last couple matches. Like I said, it's cool to have a big guy who's a little bit smaller, but says his favorite wrestler is fucking Earthquake, and that was his biggest influence. And it's like, dude, I fucking love John Tenta. So, you know, he got a little bit more offense than you would think. Karrion's been just going through people, but it was less than 3 minutes. Karrion got the win, but a strong win for Karrion Kross. It continues to make him and Scarlett look like badasses. And, Bronson Reed, man. He lost, but got a little offense in. How'd you like this segment, Chris?
It was a good squash match with a great entrance by kind of my new favorite couple in wrestling with Scarlett and Karrion Kross. I love the John Tenta thing, but that's a different conversation for a different day because I met him when I was like 6 and he shook my hand. And he was just such a nice guy. He's such a nice guy. I love Earthquake.
How big is he in real life?
I mean, as a kid, it looked like a dinosaur, but I was like 7, so I don't know. This would have been at the Gainesville Civic Center when I was like 7 years old. He looked massive. He's a very, very large man.
Yeah, dude. Matter exactly how big he was. He was basically. Sorry, I love John Tenta. So
we do. We should just call this the John Tenta podcast because like the GOAT John Tenta, like a big guy, he can move. Had great tag teams in both companies. Like, how is he not in the Hall of Fame? Let's talk about it, WWE. All right. Well, now I'm done with talking about John Tenta.
So we will move on. All right. So our next match was set up beforehand with a little bit of Robert Stone trying to get Rhea Ripley to join his brand and just failing miserably, getting punched in the stomach, and Aaliyah getting pissed off about that. Rhea Ripley challenges to her match, pretty much destroys her in 3 minutes, and we have another, match win for Rhea Ripley. I don't know what they're doing with her, really. Are they going to put her back on the title picture? Should they put her up, to, I hate saying the main roster, but you know what I'm saying? What are they going to do at Rhea Ripley, Chris?
Feud with EO because Charlotte's out for 2 months is my guess. But I think the end goal was to have her feud with Charlotte for a title belt on the main roster. So I'm assuming that she's going to feud with EO and then move to the main roster. I could be wrong, but that would be my best guess. This match was also pretty good. Or the segment, I should say, is pretty good.
Yeah, it wasn't much of a match. All right, Dexter Lumis. Okay, so they've been doing these training segments. Some of it, like, it's WWE. Some of it's funny, and some of it's like, all right, whatever. Kyle O'Reilly is their therapist, or Roderick Strong's, I should say, therapist, trying to get him over his fears. One thing if Bobby Fish was in the trunk with Roderick Strong, why isn't he having any of these PTSD issues with Dexter Lumis? Maybe he's just more stronger-willed. I have no idea. But it's one thing that's kind of like bothered me within this whole thing. Probably stupid. But Roddy can't get over it.
he's freaked out. He's freaked out at Trunks. So they finally get him to get in the trunk, and he does it, and they're all jumping up, yay! And he has a match with Loomis and gets so freaked out by him that he gets counted out. Loomis gets the victory because Roderick Strong runs in the back with Bobby Fish going, what the fuck just happened? Do you like this? Like, I don't know how I feel about this, really. I know that there's probably supposed to be some involvement with the Velveteen Dream, but obviously, due to stuff that we'll talk about tomorrow, that there's no involvement with him. So they're doing Loomis scares Roddy really, 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 really bad.
I kind of feel bad for Loomis because he is booked into a situation wrestling-wise of The Undertaker. He can only do very certain things, and he can't sell. So, like, all of his matches, as, like, a guy that likes the in-ring performance style, we're not going to like because it's going to be that, right? So,
Yep.
It sucks Velveteen Dream's not involved for obvious reasons, which, like you said, we'll talk about tomorrow. But that's kind of how it felt about the entire thing. It's just very is disjointed a good word for this, because I feel like it's very disjointed because whatever their original storyline was, obviously they can't go through with it.
Well, you know, the thing with Loomis, when he first started and then he was gone for a minute, I don't know if they were like, we needed to work on him. And even when he came back, his style wasn't really fully that Undertaker style. He had more elements, like I said, of Jake Roberts. He was sliding on his stomach and doing subtle things like stalking them. I guess Orton's another person that kind of does that, but like certain things like that. And then it seemed like all of a sudden, boom, he's Undertaker. He's no-selling everything. He's doing pretty much Undertaker from, like, what, 1989 to fucking 90.
To 94, I guess, 95.
Yeah. Yeah, that first run of Undertaker. And he had more, it seems like, more of an arsenal at least. So I hope that if he has a longer match, because that's NXT, you know, he's able to show off more than just that. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, he needs that. I mean, he needs like Ciampa or Gargano or Adam Cole to really show that he could be that Undertaker guy. But right now, he is so booked into a corner of what they're asking him to do that it makes me not really like him as a character, because I know the matches are going to be bad. But I liked the general direction where they were going. I don't necessarily know about the car kidnapping thing and the PTSD and him Ultimate Warrior, like him being basically a WCW character that's there but not really there. Like, there's a lot of things I already hate about this, but I'm going to give it a benefit of a doubt because I think they're booking him like 90s Undertaker. And that's not on the performer.
There's potential there.
There's definitely potential there. I mean, we gave a bunch of good. If you go back like 4 weeks, listeners, we gave a bunch of good potential things that they could do with this guy, and they went the opposite route, in my opinion. And I'm not gonna say I don't think he's a bad wrestler. I think they're asking him to do very little and no sell, and we'll see if it actually works out. But they don't have the huge, baby face that's necessary to get this guy to like an Undertaker level, unless you're gonna bring someone down.
I don't know. One thing, I don't know. Guess you could have him. I don't know. We'll have to find out. It's weird because, like, obviously things got screwed up that was supposed to happen, and I think they were going to go more in a tag direction with him to kind of give him some flavor, put him with Velveteen Dream, you know, do that weird Goldust, Booker T, or Mankind Rock sort of situation, but we're not getting that. Yeah, well, that's about it. We'll have to see what happens with them. The last match, though, of the night, I think was the best match. I don't think that's very hard to say. It was a match, triple threat, for the NXT North American Championship between Keith Lee, Finn Balor, Johnny Gargano. And the stipulation was basically whoever wins this is going to go against Adam Cole for both titles. So it's a very interesting prospect of what exactly is going to happen right now. Because Keith Lee retained it, and I kind of didn't see that happening. I thought that this was going to be Balor's match. Balor was going to have, the NXT North American champion, and then you have, like I said, one of the most prestigious champions in NXT for the men's division against the current Adam Cole for both of these titles, and you could either have Cole have both titles or Finn Balor. Doesn't really matter in that. But they kept it on Lee. I knew Gargano was not winning this. I think that Balor took the loss, I believe, which was a little bit surprising. Yeah, I think he didn't get the spear bomb. He got his other finisher, that power slam he does. But Keith Lee, man, is a fucking beast. I mean, I think we say that every single time. I'm kind of glad that he doesn't do as much high-flying stuff. I think he needs to save that for the pay-per-views, because I've seen him get pretty damn close to fucking almost destroying himself doing the flip over the ropes. But that spot where he showed his strength and he suplexed. No. Well, it wasn't a suplex. He grabbed them both and just threw them over his back. And, a lot of times wrestlers obviously have to project. He looked like he fucking deadlifted them. Like it was nothing. So, fun match. Liked the interaction again with Gargano and Finn Balor. They really had a good match beforehand. I don't know what this leaves for Balor. Really, the goal was him against Walter for NXT UK, and that can't happen right now because Walter's over in the UK and has opted out of wrestling because of everything. Or now he's probably in Austria because that's where he's from, but whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. So we can't have that match. I don't know what the hell's going to go for Gargano either, but we're going to have Keith Lee, North American champion, going against Adam Cole, NXT champion, for the championships, basically. One guy's going to get them both. It makes sense for Keith Lee, and then do something with Adam Cole, possibly on the main roster. Or you give them both to Adam Cole, and you put Keith Lee. I don't know. I know that Vince is very about Keith Lee, but it would make sense for him to have both titles, because he hasn't had that main one yet. And Adam Cole's had the fucking title forever. So I don't know what they're going to do, man. This is crazy. What do you think, Chris?
I honestly have no idea. I agree with it. Makes sense that he would have both titles, but I feel like it's just a Royal Rumble victory for someone like Keith Lee. If Vince is super behind him and he's a great wrestler and he's a big guy that he can push, it would make sense for him having like a big impact at the Rumble or winning the Rumble even, versus winning the title on NXT. I think Adam Cole is just going to be a forever NXT guy. Same thing with Ciampa and Gargano. And if that's their decision to do that, like as gatekeepers for whatever is considered the main product, I think that's fine. I mean, the idea is to make that show have like 1 million viewers, right? So like having top guys there that people really like, I don't think is a bad idea. NXT's in a weird spot because they've called themselves the developmental brand for so long that it sometimes it doesn't even make sense, because when they go up to the main Raw, I mean, it's a completely different mindset of what you're asking them to do. So for like, the Undisputed Era and some of the other cats, like it may be better for them not to go to the main roster. Like Matt Riddle going to the main roster to me makes a lot of sense, especially if you can get a Goldberg Matt Riddle feud. Let's say that we'll get into the allegations tomorrow or whatever, but like there's certain people that yes, you can put them there, but like I don't know what you do with Adam Cole if you put him in the main roster. Like who is he gonna feud with? Are you gonna bring the rest of the Undisputed Era up? It's one of those. Keith Lee is a plug and play guy to me. Like you can throw him on main, have him win the Rumble, and he could be a big star for you. Versus the rest of the NXT roster, in my opinion.
Yeah, man. I don't know. The man's got so much swagger, but he seems like it's more of an intellectual. It's like if you put like aspects of Neil deGrasse Tyson and Mark Henry together. Well, I made myself up.
Speaking of Mark Henry, you guys should watch that Big Show Netflix series, listeners out there, just because Mark Henry and Rikishi show up, and it's great. It's kind of the best thing. Well, yeah. Okay. It's fine. Mixed there, but like big guys eating buffet shrimp, and the way that they sold it is kind of great.
All right, so let's talk ratings, man. This is kind of crazy. This week NXT won. They drew 786,000 viewers, 5.4 plus from last week, and whatchamacallit, topping 633 from last week. No, I'm sorry, I'm reading this fucking incorrectly. Let me go back. So NXT drew 786,000, and Dynamite drew their lowest 633,000. Big difference. I don't really understand the surge of viewers for NXT. They've won almost every demographic. It's crazy a bit. You know, when Chris originally showed me, I was like, oh, okay, AEW beat NXT. Like, yeah, like it always fucking happens. Like, whatever, we'll be fine. But then I realized that he actually told me NXT kicked the shit out of AEW, and I was like, what? Like, hey, I like both shows, but I gotta say, this last week I actually liked AEW's show better than NXT. I thought NXT's main event was great, and a lot of aspects of it. I like NXT. It's I usually put it over a lot, but just didn't see this coming. What do you think the fluctuation in ratings? What happened, Chris?
I have absolutely no idea as far as what happened. I will say the key demographic, the 18 to 49 market, AEW won. Was in the highest percentile, which is the one that advertisers look at because you're the most willing to spend money because you're not.
But correct me if I'm wrong. It was like neck and neck, right?
Yeah, it was close. And other than that, AEW got pub stomped basically in the ratings, which hasn't happened since they started pulling. Like, it hasn't happened since they did the NXT WWE main roster crossover where there was like a slight invasion angle. So it is very weird. And I don't know. I mean, I don't read too much into this stuff, but if you're an NXT or if you're AEW fan only, I guess watch on Wednesday because it matters to the parent companies, right? So, yeah, no, they got smoked. Like I said, outside of what the key demographic is, which is 18 to 49, which they won, they got smoked. I mean, by like almost 200,000 viewers. So it's a weird thing to talk about, and maybe some of it was the Sammy Guevara allegations. Who knows? Who knows how that actually affected? I mean, it could even be like the Matt Riddle Velveteen Dream allegations that made people tune into the show. This is a weird week in general because of the stuff that we're going to talk about tomorrow. As far as how people tuned in and what they were actually trying to see versus wrestling. And I'm not making any excuses. Either way, AEW got smoked this week. But I could definitely see that to me, it seemed like there was an increased NXT viewership to see if there was going to be comments about Velveteen Dream or Matt Riddle.
That could be it, man. I also think that the rating situation, we've talked about this a million times. The Nielsen rating system is kind of a joke. They don't really go by. I mean, one of the biggest things, obviously, is viewership with DVR. You know, so how many people are actually watching it in general within maybe a day radius or something like that, or off of other type of streaming platforms. You know, it's something to be said that the rating system itself is flawed, but this is what advertisers look for. So this is a win for NXT, regardless. We can't really say one thing or the other.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. They won. I'm just curious on why they won and what kind of fans are out there that only tune in if something bad happens. Which is
I hope not.
That's kind of what I'm thinking occurred, just because of how hard it's skewed. But you know, looking at it in the glass lens, it doesn't really matter. I mean, they have a lot of good stuff going on in NXT. It's a good show, and it's not like they're that far apart ever. I mean, like you're maybe talking 100,000 viewers on the ratings each week, anyways. Even when NXT won, or when like there was one time where AEW was like went past 1 million viewers or whatever, but that's very rare. Like they're literally like you're talking like 150,000 viewers each week on these ratings. I'm not too worried about this because like to me NXT is beating AEW all the time anyways, because if you own if you own the WWE network, which you would, because this would be the reason you're watching NXT, you just watch it later on their network. They kind of cannibalize themselves as far as like having a live show goes, because you're giving us a stream option. It'd be like if like Netflix put out like Making a Murderer, but they showed it on Fox also.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't. So it's weird in general. I think there's a lot more viewers of both products that aren't necessarily tuning in to watch it live. I think people just don't watch TV outside of sports, where it's like, you know, like we're in extra innings and the Braves need to hit a home run to win this game. Like outside of something like that that's uncontrollable, I don't think that people view sports the same way. And knowing wrestling kind of is a work, it does become almost like a movie or something, where it's like, well, I'll just watch it later, whether it's live or not. The live model in general, I think that they're going to realize doesn't work. One, for the performers, because you're asking them to go all over the place, all the time, which is going to suck, like, if you want to go see a live wrestling event. But I think they're coming to terms with that a little bit. It's like, how do I keep people entertained in more of a streaming service, I guess?
No, that makes sense. But, hey, regardless, big win for NXT this week. Let's move on to, we're going to combine the Smackdown shows because both of them were very, very short and brief, but I thought were pretty good in certain aspects. I love this opening for last week's Smackdown. AJ Styles was in the ring with Renee and about to receive the Intercontinental Champion, but he demanded that Daniel Bryan put it on him. Good heel shit, man. AJ Styles is great. Matt Riddle, going ahead too fast. Daniel Bryan comes in the ring. AJ's just being a dick about it. He wants him to go over his accolades and praise him. And Daniel Bryan starts running him down about how, like, oh, yeah, your championship reign would be great. It could be great if you, I don't know, defend it every week. Maybe against Chad Gable. Maybe against Grand Metalik. Maybe against, and he's listing other people. He goes, maybe that would actually make your title reign good. So this gets a little bit where they get in each other's face. Matt Riddle crashes Styles' party and makes his SmackDown debut. And basically kind of challenges him and gets AJ flustered, because we know that's easy to get. And they have an impromptu match, come back from commercial, and AJ allows everyone to know that, no, this is not for the fucking title. Not going to happen, basically. Pulling some heel shit. The original Bro Star match, like he shot out of a fucking cannon, landing a German suplex and a gut wrench throw right after the opening bell. The IC champion did his best to chop down the newcomer, but when Styles turned his attention to Daniel Bryan outside the ring, Riddle capitalized with a furious Bro Derek for the win. I thought this was a good match. I like where this is going with, a feud between AJ and Daniel Bryan still, but also AJ going against now Matt Riddle. Given all the other stuff, like I said, we'll get to that tomorrow. But just based on this itself, I like this opening. I like Daniel Bryan calling him out. And I like some of the guys that he pointed out, because they're guys that Daniel Bryan himself has said that he wished would get pushed. He's always put over Chad Gable and said he's an amazing in-ring wrestler, and always put over Grand Metalik as one of the best Lucha Libre wrestlers. So it was good, man. How'd you like this opening and the match?
I thought it was a very, very good match, obviously, with so many great performers. The Matt Riddle thing made it a little bit weird for me. But yeah, I mean, like if the end goal feud is AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan, at least we're gonna get a good match out of it. And I feel like there's no focus on what AJ Styles is other than just being really great at wrestling.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I feel like there's a lot more they could put into the AJ Styles character, considering everything he's went through post Undertaker, that they haven't put there. But AJ Styles is AJ Styles. Turns out he's pretty fucking awesome. Shout out to Gainesville, Georgia.
Yep. So Shorty G, Mojo Rally, they had a little altercation the week previous. Shorty G had a match with them and grabbed an early upper hand with backstage jabs to Mojo Rawley before entering the ring when Mojo got in his face. The scrappy superstar was not discouraged by the size disparity, but was pushed down early by Rawley. When presented with an opportunity, Shorty G seized it with an impressive counter into an inside cradle for the victory. I mean, you're still making him fight from underneath. I don't think Chad, based even on his fucking size, where there's so many wrestlers that are close to his size, a Finn Balor, he could still be a badass. He doesn't have to be that styled, but whatever. He got a win. But it was against Mojo Rawley, so I don't know. Do you feel the same way, Chris?
I mean, 100%, but I also don't want to take a whole lot of time talking about how Shorty G is underutilized and they've basically trashed his career. Shorty G, he's a former Olympic athlete. Like, Shorty G, he's wearing basketball shorts, and what the hell did they try to do to this guy? It's bad. It's like giving Terry Taylor the Red Rooster gimmick, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I put this in the same level of that. Of like, how did you fuck this guy up? You fucked this guy up pretty hard.
That is a great comparison, though, man. Ugh, wow. All right. So we have the New Day, Kofi Kingston and Big E going against Lucha House Party, Gran Metalik and Lince Dorado. And good match. After a setback against Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro, the New Day looked to regain their championship form against Lucha House Party. The Smackdown Tag Team Champions teamed up for an aerial assault to get the victory, but the King of Strong Style and Swiss Cyborg wasted no time springing into action against the title holders. With last week's victory and this brutal attack, Nakamura and Cesaro continue to state their case for a championship opportunity, in which they did to Michael Cole and basically was like, we're here, fuck off. That's what Cesaro basically said to him. So I like how strong, for once, they're pushing Nakamura and Cesaro. And with the win last week, Chris, and this beatdown, once we get that tag title match between Cesaro and Nakamura and the New Day, who have had those titles for a while, do you think they might just hop them on Cesaro and Nakamura?
I mean, maybe, but aren't we in the cusp of is Xavier Woods about to come back? I think he's about to come back, right, from the Achilles thing. So
Could be.
Maybe just New Day holds it. I don't know. Like, it's really hard to tell what they want to do with Cesaro and Nakamura. I think they're just guys. And once again, tag team division doesn't matter in WWE. So, like, even if they win the tag titles, they're just going to go against Miz and Morrison in the New Day. And also, what the fuck happened to the Usos, Day? Where are they?
Like I said, Jimmy, I think, is still injured, man. I don't know why they don't use Jay more, but that's how it is. He was in, what the fuck? He was in he was in a tribute to The Undertaker, which we'll talk about. All right, so the last match for last week's SmackDown, not the one from last night, if you couldn't figure it out. We had Sasha Banks with Bayley going against Nikki Cross with Alexa Bliss. This all happened when the Women's Tag Team Champions once again took their talents to the announce booth this week, but Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss took exception to their latest round of disparaging comments. Cross was particularly disturbed as she attacked Sasha Banks to set up a match with her outspoken rival. Cross aggression carried over into the bout, but the boss countered with a Meteora and pinned to flex her muscle as the golden role model, the blueprint, Sasha Banks. I don't really care. That's all I gotta say. I mean, I like seeing Nikki Cross. You know, she's been revved up last night and the week before that. So it's good that they're putting her back to how she was in NXT, I guess. But if she doesn't get a win, it doesn't really matter. So, you know, it's whatever. Sasha's going to be going against Asuka for the championship. They're pushing her. I get it. How'd you like this, Chris?
I thought it was okay. That's the best thing I can say about it. It was just there.
Yeah. All right, so last night, and the last thing we'll talk about on SmackDown, big promo package for Undertaker, going over his whole entire, career. Really well done, like they always do at WWE. And it started off with everyone basically in the ring, cheering for Undertaker. Of course, Baron Corbin had to make some disparaging comments about him and discredit him, which would be his downfall later on. Then they showed the Boneyard match, which is credited as of right now, because I don't know, as the last match for The Undertaker against AJ Styles, which obviously we don't have to go over. It was a fun segmented match. All right, so I want to go into this retirement concept. If Undertaker wanted, to me, there's two things. It seems like Undertaker would want his last match to be in front of an audience. And Survivor Series marks 30 years from when he actually debuted. There's that. And there's also the fact that if you want to do another match like he did with AJ, like the Boneyard match, it doesn't take anything away from him physically like the fucking in-ring stuff does. So he has that option. But I just don't know how much I believe that Undertaker is fully retired. Maybe what they'll do is Survivor Series will come around and Undertaker will come out and speak to the audience, and they'll kind of commemorate his career based on that. But do I think that 100% he'll stay retired, especially with the options like the Boneyard match? I don't know. What do you think, Chris?
I think Undertaker is just going to do whatever Undertaker wants to do. I know that's a very shady answer, but I mean, he should have retired after the Roman Reigns match when he left everything in the ring. So at this point, it's like, if you're going to offer me $2 million to have an 8-minute match in Saudi Arabia or whatever, that's hard for anyone to pass up, especially if he's not selling. Like, if you look at some of the matches that he's had there, where he's just choke slamming dudes or whatever, he's not being the Undertaker of old. He's just hitting all of his spots. It's very hard for me to be like, he is retired. But if he is, and we've talked about this even going back to that Roman Reigns match, our old school WrestleMania preview of that, or in preview or review or whatever, where I was like, Undertaker don't owe anyone shit, so if he's done, he's done, and I'm completely fine with it. He keeps talking about, even in the documentary, he talks about how he loves the fans and he owes the fans so much. And I was like, yeah, you do, but I think that you've paid it back in tenfold. It's like, Jesus Christ, it's not like you had a 1-year career, Undertaker. Like, we have 30 years of Undertaker to watch. And from that standpoint, like, if he's done and is happy to be done, I'm completely fine with it. I'm not one of those fans that thinks that I need an Undertaker match at Mania unless he just wants to do it. If he wants to do it as a person, that's a very different story. But, like, Undertaker doesn't owe us shit as fans. Like, Ric Flair doesn't owe us shit as fans. Arn Anderson doesn't owe us shit. Like, they've given us so much anyways with their body. Mick Foley, for instance, like, there's no comparison. Like, why? Who cares? I mean, I guess because WWE made it a Mania gimmick. Like, it doesn't matter. Like Undertaker not being there, it's still just going to be another wrestling pay-per-view. You're either going to watch it and love it or not watch it and love it. It has nothing to do with the Undertaker. Now you can put him there on commentary. You could build a new Undertaker, someone with a hot streak. There's a lot of things they could have done in the past 30 years to make a new Undertaker that they didn't do. But like I said, Undertaker doesn't know a shit. So like if he's done, good. Happy retirement, Undertaker. But I also don't believe it's his retirement because Terry Funk retired like 78 times. So, and also Ric Flair said he will never retire. So there's that. And he's still on WWE.
And Jerry Lawler's still wrestling, for Christ's sakes. Ugh. Anyway, so Jeff Hardy was not happy with Baron Corbin's comments. He cut a promo on him, and it set up a match at the end of the night that we'll get to. We had a match with Nikki Cross, Alexa Bliss, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans in a four-way match to become number one contender for the WWE SmackDown Women's Championship. And it was actually a pretty good match. Basically, the SmackDown Women's Championship opportunity was on the line as a quartet of the Blue brand's top superstars met in a fatal four-way match. The intensity was high from the start, with all four superstars shining at different moments of the clash. The determined Nikki Cross couldn't be denied after Lacey Evans delivered a woman's right to Dana Brooke, but left herself open for the pin. And so they're giving Nikki a chance against Bayley. She's not going to win, but still, I like I said, that they're going with this more psychopathic version of Nikki. Like the week last time, Nikki just, she was in the back and she was all flustered. And she just went after Bayley and Sasha, who are on commentary, and just, got an impromptu match with Sasha, basically. But now it's same type of concept. So I've always liked the chaotic Nikki that was more presented in NXT. This new bubbly best friends with fucking Alexa thing could care less. This is going to be a good match. Nikki's still going to lose, but I like this match. Any of these ladies could have got it outside of Alexa, because I love Alexa, but she's had the fucking title a million times. But I would have loved also if Dana Brooke or Lacey Evans got it, but that didn't happen. What do you think about the outcome of this match, Chris?
I'm on the same standpoint of you, where it really didn't matter because we kind of know where the story's going to go anyways, just based on their booking being around two top stars that are on one brand who happen to be a tag team / best friends, I guess, and the fact that Charlotte's in the wings. So it's really hard for me to care about it when you're not telling me an interesting story.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That's a very, very good point. All right, so we had a 4-on-4 match. The New Day, Kofi Kingston, Big E, and Lucha House Party, Gran Metalik, and Lince Dorado going against Cesaro, Shinsuke Nakamura, The Miz, and John Morrison in an 8-man tag. It was a pretty length. Well, it was about 11 minutes to match, and it basically a collection of Blue Band's best tag teams were presented in this, from what this summary says. A week after the win over the high-flying duo, the New Day teamed up with Lucha House Party against two pairs of their rivals, The Miz, John Morrison, Shinsuke, and Cesaro. Nakamura gave his team the upper hand, who pinned Kofi, like we said 2 weeks ago, to get that win over him. Gave his team an upper hand with some devious tactics outside the ring against Kofi Kingston. Big E began pancaking every opponent. An insane aerial display from Lince Dorado and Gran Metalik took out Miz and Morrison, and Lince Dorado pinned The Miz to secure the win. Was that fun? I liked Lince and Gran Metalik both getting not a push necessarily, but just been taken seriously a bit more in the last couple of weeks. It kind of foils and develops their tag division a bit. I think SmackDown has more tag teams in a structured tag division than Raw does. Like we've gone over, has like fucking 3. But good stuff going forward. I don't know where this is going. The one thing I will say, we need John Morrison outside of this. I want him in the Intercontinental title picture. But yeah, Chris, what'd you think about this whole thing?
I thought it was a pretty good match overall. I like a lot of the performers that were involved. I I don't know, man. SmackDown to me is just so bad right now. Is it just me? I don't understand where they're going with anyone in the company. Like, they just have matches.
Well, I don't know. Some things, yeah. Some things, no. I feel the same way about Raw. But I think that's just...
with the exception of, like, AJ Styles and that main title picture, there's just a bunch of dudes wrestling.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But that's kind of how I felt about that match. I mean, I think it's just me being very disappointed in what SmackDown was 2 years ago versus now.
Oh, when Road Dogg was booking and they decided to kick him out?
I mean,
and
when
Jimmy
whoever
Jacobs?
when whoever was making good SmackDown decisions was booked.
That's who it was. Yeah. Oh, and I forgot about this from last week, but I'm glad that they're telling me that this was replayed. So now they're positioning. Braun Strowman came out. He did a promo the week previous, talking about what he's going to be doing next. Bray Wyatt came out. No, that's what it was. So Bray Wyatt was coming back with his Firefly Funhouse, and he's on in his Funhouse thing talking shit about Braun, basically. Braun enters, is like, I'm not playing your games anymore. And they went to Bray, or Funhouse Bray, I should say, saying that you'll be facing a completely different version, someone that you're much more, acquainted with. Cut to a promo of old school Bray Wyatt, even in the, I forgot the name of the wrestler that he used, the Hawaiian button up, his old school look with his Louisiana accent thrown in there, and it's going to be the old school Bray versus Braun. Here's a question, though, because Braun would come out and, talk about how maniacal and how evil Bray Wyatt really is, and how you don't know him on a personal basis like I know him. Like, this man one time got bit, was playing with a snake in front of him, and it bit him 3 times, and he was bleeding, and he was smiling the whole entire time. Pretty good dialogue. Didn't come out the best from Braun, but, he did his best. But, yeah, if you're going to go against fucking Braun Strowman for the title, I mean, I like the 3 Faces of Foley concept, but you think that it's time for Cactus Jack, a.k.a. The Fiend, to come out and get his fucking title back. I don't know. That might just be me, Chris.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that one. A little bit distracting because I was pulling up all the New Japan stuff, but I don't think that you misspoke on anything I would spit on.
All right, so we had the match with Jeff Hardy and King Corbin, following King Corbin's despicable disrespect to the legendary Undertaker at the Open of SmackDown. Jeff Hardy came calling, and a match was set up between the 2 competitors. Blue Brand superstars surrounded the ring in not a lumberjack fashion, but just in honor of the legacy of the dead man, and cheered the charismatic Enigma to be able to beat Corbin, the big bad heel. Corbin flexes muscles at times, but the gritty Hardy would not be denied, as Big E, as he won, beat Corbin, and then Big E did his finish to him, Braun Strowman did his finish to him, Kofi Kingston and Matt Riddle, and all of those guys took posts, cheering with "Thank you, Undertaker," going off the air. Decent ending, new, very predictable. They put a lot of stock in Matt Riddle. Since he was one of those guys, along with the tag champions, the world champion, and Jeff Hardy in the ring.
Imagine a company where you put a bunch of stock in people that may not be there.
Jesus. Remember about months ago when we were saying that Matt Riddle and Velveteen Dream would be huge on the main roster in the next couple months?
Yeah, I know, right? In retrospect. But like Jeff Hardy, for instance, why are they building storylines around him? Because, one, he just lost to Sheamus. Like, he lost clean to Sheamus. They're building storylines around him like he's going to stick around. He's not sticking around. Spoiler alert, WWE.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I mean, like, it was good from a TV standpoint, but there's just so many wrestlers involved, and these different situations. That's like, if that's what you guys were planning to do for the main roster, like a main event program for the next few months, like I don't know where that leaves you at all. I guess the house that AJ Styles built, he's just gonna have to carry them on his back for a while. Like, that, like the quote about you see those motivational like Jesus posters, like when there was one set of footprints, that's where I carried you. That's what they're gonna ask of AJ Styles.
Yeah, thank God. Thank God they have AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan. Because, I mean, I would say since we haven't seen The Fiend in a while, who is a popular character they've definitely diluted, but still definitely one of the more popular characters. And they have a couple of the big names. Kofi's now in a tag team, so he's not a single superstar representing anything. Their biggest stars are Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles, I would say, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not even close. And I feel like even if, Braun has the title, but no one even talks about him. So, like, if you look at threads or whatever, like, no one talks about him. Like, he's the champion, and you just said, oh, yeah, there's a problem. Your champion should be your top guy. So, like, AEW, when you're talking about the champion, it's Dean Ambrose. Or even NXT, you talk about the champion, it's Adam Cole, baby. It's an afterthought, which points to there being a systematic problem of the company in general when your top guys are wrestling for the IC title and that's not your main event picture. Like, what is the point of having this albatross of a title with a guy that just does vignettes and is not a great wrestler in Bray Wyatt? Maybe I'm being a little bit of a dick, but it is what it is.
It's the mystery behind him that's where the popularity comes from him. But yeah, I agree with you completely. So the last thing that we need to talk about, and you just alluded to it, is stuff involving New Japan and their tournament right now. Can you give us a breakdown of some of the stuff that's happened? I unfortunately haven't got a chance to watch any of it as of yet. What's going on with New Japan now that they're back? They're back.
Well, we're up to night 5. We're up to night 5. So there's a lot of stuff that happens. I will give you the big moments from night 5 specifically, which is the last one that I will watch, which was the 24th. So far, like the biggest matches to watch from it would be Takahashi versus Yano and Okada versus Nagata. They obviously transferred through. Our predictions of what the tournament was thus far has been pretty spot on. As far as the people we would think would progress in this tournament, I cannot find a full bracket preview, unfortunately, to tell you what the bracket is. But I will say, in the second round match, Okada versus Nagata, a 20-minute match, and it's like Okada had never wrestled before. Like, he's had like so long of a break. He went all out. He's hitting pitch perfect drop kicks. If you're a wrestling nerd like me and you are, it's something to behold against Yuji Nagata, which just further proves that like Okada is one of the best of all time. But it is such a great match. I highly recommend watching that one specifically. But we're still looking at like your top opponents, which, I mean, on the bracket, probably Ibushi, like I said, or if they want to go the Tanahashi route at the end goal. On the left side, I still feel like all roads lead to Okada, so Okada is going to be the finalist on the other side, and he is not let us down. This man has stayed in shape and has had some. He has 0 ring rust apparently, Dane. But very crazy. The Tanahashi Yano match was a very good comedy match. I don't know if that makes sense. I mean, like, maybe one of the best I've ever seen. As far as like if you're gonna do a funny style match, but Tanahashi versus Yano was pretty damn good.
I gotta check out both those matches, man. And yeah, just Okada versus Yuji Nagata. We know
Yuji said, I think 2 or 3 years ago when I first started watching New Japan, that he was retiring, and the motherfucker's still doing matches. That year he was a part of the G1 tournament, and I think that was the last time he was a part of the G1. But such a, very underrated wrestler to American fans. I think a lot of them know him for Nitro and, being a great part of that whole entire Japanese invasion, if you will, with what was it, Sonny Ono was the manager?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sonny.
that whole thing, bringing different Japanese talent involved and being in actual real life partnered with New Japan with Eric Bischoff to be able to get these talents there. But he is huge in Japan, and I don't know. I mean, him and Okada probably had a great match. I'll definitely have to check that out. And then Yano and Takahashi. Are you kidding me? So Hiromu and Toru Yano got to have like a comedy match. It still is probably structured. It still is probably hard hitting, and it was probably really entertaining, is what I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the best of those kind of matches that you could have. And it just makes me really wish that we could get R-Truth versus like Tanahashi. Honestly. No, it was good. It was good overall. I will say what you're going to love about the Okada match, if you don't mind me giving a spoiler alert here, knowing that Okada won, right?
No.
He gets hit with the enziguri, he backs off the ropes, and then he just does a head and arm choke. And that's how he wins the match. He doesn't even hit a Rainmaker. That's what they're doing with Okada right now in this tournament. So, like, if you're an Okada fan, definitely tune in, because he's not just Rainmakering and tombstoning people. He's making all of these matches very intricate, and he has, in the past 4 months, changed his style. I mean, you're still going to get all your cliche Okada stuff, but he's not giving you the same finish. It's not just going to be a Rainmaker out of nowhere. Like, he literally won off basically getting knocked out and put someone in the arm, a head and arm choke, like UFC style. And the fact that Okada he closed the show with a press conference in the ring, which is typical Okada, right? But it very different. And Nagata's selling of getting choked out, one of the best things that I've seen in wrestling in a long time. Definitely an episode to check out, that the night 5 of New Japan. If you're one of the subscribers to Japan World, definitely check out night 5, specifically the Okada Nagata match. It's great. And if you're going before that, as far as things to check out, I would say check out the Ibushi match. I thought that was one of the better matches.
So let me break down some brackets for the second round at least, and we'll go until where they are now. I think that they just had, like you said, to the quarterfinals. I found this on Wikipedia, but Bay going against Ishii winning. Toru Yano going against Hiromu Takahashi. Obviously, we talked about that. Hiromu winning and advancing. Okada going against Yuji Nagata, winning. Kinemura going against Taiji Ishimori. Wow! So we're getting Ishii going against Takahashi and Okada going against Ishimori. That should be fucking awesome. And obviously, we haven't gotten to the next night for the other bracket, but the winners, the matches at least, are Taichi versus Kota Ibushi, Sanada versus Sho, Yoshihashi versus Bushi, Evil versus Hiroki Goto. And I want to say, Chris, a lot of the winners are the ones that we kind of said we're going to win the first round. So we've been pretty spot on. Now, I didn't advance it to the next rounds, but very interested in Ishii going against Takahashi and Okada going against Ishimori.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a stacked lineup. It kind of sucks that some of the UK performers weren't going to be able. We'll talk about Will Ospreay tomorrow, I guess. But it was a weird tournament. It's very much a Japanese roster in this tournament, not a lot of American talent, but or European talent, I should say. America or European. Usually you see a little bit sprinkled in. You like a Michael Elgin, which once again we'll talk about him tomorrow. Jesus Christ, Dane.
Not gonna see him. Actually, you might see Michael Elgin back in New Japan sometime soon. He might be able to go back there.
Jesus. I can't name a wrestler without being like, well, actually, we'll talk about it tomorrow. It's like Roman Reigns was right on just staying home through all of 2020. I'm just saying. I mean, July 1st, this is the big one. We get Kota Ibushi versus Taichi, Sho versus Sonata, Goto versus Evil, which I hope Evil kills him, because that would be great, and Hashi versus Kota Ibushi. So we got some tournaments, and that leads to the quarterfinals. I mean, there's some good ass Japanese wrestling right now if you're into that kind of thing.
And if you're not, you're an idiot. No, I'm just kidding. You guys can like whatever you like. Anyways, I think that's it, guys. I think that's another episode of Wrestling Geeks Alliance. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll have all the shows and information on stuff next week. And we're going to, like I said, we're going to do a special edition that's going to be coming out talking about Tessa Blanchard and her future. We're going to be talking about the quarantine, not the quarantine, the unquarantine, if you will, the COVID and the infections of many WWE, up to 30, I think now, within workers, wrestlers, pretty much everyone. This is getting crazy over there. And then all the allegations going on against the male wrestlers. It's going to be much more, I'm not going to say explicit, but I am going to analyze stuff that I would normally probably be tamer with. So, if you guys want to listen to it, where that's going to be up. If you don't feel like listening to that type of stuff, I completely understand. It's a messy situations altogether. But we're going to have an episode about it. I hope you guys enjoyed our summaries for all the shows. And, just have a lovely weekend. And, Chris, you got anything to say to the good people out there?
No, man. If you want to talk to me, you can be at Chris R. Patton on Twitter. As always, more than happy to talk about wrestling. If you want to talk about these allegations, we can talk about those as well. We just wanted to give you guys a happy episode that was just about wrestling, not people's personality behind the scenes. So hopefully we provided that. And if you want to get into us shitting on people that are very terrible people, we have the allegation show coming tomorrow, as Dane mentioned. So I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll ship it back to you, Dane.
Thank you very much. And if you guys want to get a hold of me, DaneAlves42 on Twitter, Dane Alves on Facebook. Message me. And thank you so much for listening. You guys have a wonderful day, and always be a part of the Wrestling Geeks Alliance. Thank you guys. Peace out.